Jordan! Your daughter's in the house. I hope you know that. Your fucking daughter's in the house. Get real fucking funny stuff. Jesus Christ, Jordan!
Get out of here! You fucking come here!
Come on. We're gonna go upstairs, all right?
What you did? You piece of shit. What? Brad, huh? Brad, you fucking break your face. What did you do? You piece of shit.
There we go.
Now that's a fucking opening.
Oh, I see. And the thing is, when I was putting it together, I didn't know like where I wanted to cut it. And I said, you know what? When he fucking falls into the table and like goes to like choke out, I'm like, that was good. I wanted to do the whole thing where like, you know, the spinach and, you know, when he takes the fucking other thing and he gets himself all up and you see Popeye with the spinach, and I'm like, you know, that would have been good, but we can't have it go too long because then that'll just like take people out of it. So
that's fine. We did it. We had some tech issues, folks, but here we are. We made it happen. This episode of Rabbit and Red Radio. As always, I am Theo, that one weirdo. And with me, and I've been waiting 2 weeks, with me, as always, is Producer Mike!
You know what? I have to pull you saying that just because I like when you do that. You know,
that'll be your next that'll be your next ringtone.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna do that. I like that. After the utter aggravation that is one stream live, and okay, so all right, I'm moving the mouse away from all the buttons because I was laughing so hard before we started that I almost took us out again. So here's the issue. StreamYard, our former host for all these things, decided to jack up their prices royally because they were bought out by another company.
Boo!
So because they were bought out by another company, they had decided to raise the plan that we were on before was $50 a month, which isn't spectacular, but I was willing to do it. I've been doing it for as long as the network has been in existence, which is 2021. So that's fine. Then they decide to raise it to $88 a month for the plan that we have. And I was like, the fuck you think I'm going to do? Really?
Yeah.
Like $88 a month for I'm sorry, but you know, we're not a money-making machine here at Rabbit and Red. God, I wish we were, but we're not. So
even if money wasn't out and out the issue, it's the principle of that kind of jump, because that's a pretty significant uptick.
Oh, a lot of people from what I've seen on social media are totally jumping ship, and I do feel that StreamYard's bottom line is going to be affected.
Oh, absolutely.
Greatly. But what we have now is OneStream Live, which I chose because basically I'm getting a little more than we had with StreamYard, a little more functionality, and it's slightly cheaper than we were paying with StreamYard, so I'll take it. There's been a little learning curve, a few hiccups here and there. Like now, I realize that if you hit go live, and then if you don't also on the pop-up window confirm that you want to go live, you don't go live.
Nope.
And then it says that you've reached your streaming limit, and to upgrade your plan if you want more time. And I'm like, okay, first off, we're already at the $39 a month plan, so I don't feel like I need to upgrade anymore to get any more time. We didn't even go live before because I didn't even confirm it in the pop-up window that we were going live. All I did was tap a little, what they call interval button that said, get ready, your stream is starting in a minute. And it was a countdown. And I was hoping to hit that and then hit the network bumper and then hit the intro. But no, instead, you go live and you have to hit a button for it to play the network bumper when it goes live. So that played automatically, which was cool. I like that. And then I hit the intro after. So now I know how it works, so we won't have this issue again.
No.
If we do, I'm going to kill somebody. I will do it.
Well, you've heard his terms, folks. It's pretty straightforward. It's like, look, keep it working or else.
I'll reach through the screen. And because the funny thing is, I had contacted OneStream Live before because I wanted to, like, I needed to talk through some issues when I was trying to, like, in my learning curve phase over the last week or so. And then you get like a chat bot. They say they don't have bots. That's a fucking lie because they have bots. Because all they do is send me a link to a YouTube video which tells me which is supposed to tell me what to do. I don't want YouTube to tell me what to do. I want you to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I'm paying you to tell me what to do.
That's so true.
Tell me.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
and no, you're good. Well, and it's funny because, you know, as companies expand or get bought up, we always see, you know, a change. And in our case, you know, it's very much just price oriented, which makes sense. And I mean, I got no problem helping you pay for this stuff. I mean, people got to listen to me. They should have to have something to show for it. But no, it's always funny, like going to something else, and then it's like once you go through kind of the aches and pains, you're like, is this better? But I think now we can actually get a real test run on this because now we can actually go, oh, okay, this is what it does.
Yes, I mean, I tried it Tuesday on the classic Rabbit and Red that I had organized with Vincent Paul, and I thought when we did it on Tuesday that I worked all these kinks out, but apparently I did not.
But here we are. And we made it happen. And this is a show. I mean, we look forward to all shows, but this is a show that we really, it's funny because we're going to take a little detour from what we usually review when we get to it. Because for those who tuned into the last episode, I came to a revelation that I didn't know about Producer Mike. I don't know if I can do that every time because people after a while are gonna be like,
That's why I just need to record it so I have it.
Just have it like a bumper. There you go.
Yeah.
But you, up until very recently, had not seen The Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill, Margot Robbie, and not to say that it was a given. I am one of those, like, I like finding out when people don't have, when they haven't seen things, and you have kind of that, oh, what do you mean? And it's great for me because you get to introduce it to people. You gotta have this little kind of small quasi claim to fame, where you're like, oh, you haven't seen this. So it's kind of like unclaimed land. I love it because it is literally a case of, I don't, I want to, I like introducing stuff to people. A show that I had been on, I probably mentioned it before, but a show I had been on a couple times with TV's Travis called Wait, You Haven't Seen. And I love that I got to introduce him to, and I might have mentioned it before and what the movies were, but that was one of those things where I love that I got to do it, where I got to be the person to go. Because, sometimes when we do that, we have that whole kind of, you haven't seen this. And you almost treat it like something's wrong with them. Like, what do you mean you haven't seen that?
Right.
But I love introducing people to movies because then it's kind of like, okay, if you like this, then there's also this. So it kind of frees up kind of people's cinematic mindscape a little bit. And the first movie I did on the show was called No Escape with Ray Liotta. And it is a fun little science fiction kind of ditty. They tried that was the time where they really tried posing him as like kind of an action hero. And the sad thing is that the studio that kind of had it didn't really know what to do with it. You can tell that it's from a budgetary standpoint, it's really trying to punch above its weight class. But it's a good time. It's got a great cast. It's got Ernie Hudson, Kevin Dillon, Stuart Wilson as easily one of the best villain turns of all time as a character called Walter Merrick. And he's fucking amazing. And with so many good pieces in play, I hate to point at him like he's a scene stealer, but oh my God, that man was having so much fun. And if he didn't, then even more kudos to him for raising the bar in that movie. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, No Escape. It's been years, but yeah, right. I've seen it, but it's been honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the last time that I saw it once in the theater, and then I probably watched it when I first got the VHS, and I have not watched it since.
So I saw it 3 times in the theater. And it was a movie, like I just had fun with it. And where I grew up in Hawaii, like movies were kind of the thing to do. I mean, every place, like, you get bored and maybe you go to a movie or a movie interests you. But movies for me, like many of us, is where my life took shape. Like I unfortunately learned more from movies than I probably did from school up until a certain age. But movies just, they always make us feel comfortable. And in the case of No Escape, like I really enjoyed it. Strangely enough, the director who directed it, right after that movie, if I have it right, time frame wise, he directed GoldenEye, Martin Campbell.
I think that seems about right.
And then fast forward a few years, and he had some other good ones under his belt. He's the one who did Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds, and that's one of those kind of studio burgers that tasted like shit, where it's kind of like, well, yeah, if you're going to throw $190 million at a movie, of course the suits are going to be in this kind of position. And I think he did his best, but it is very much not signature Martin Campbell. But right before that, he directed Casino Royale, which is probably pound for pound next to Thunderball and GoldenEye, is my favorite James Bond movie.
GoldenEye is good.
GoldenEye is a lot of fun. And GoldenEye is that balance. You've got that dorkiness of Bond, but the suaveness, Bond really didn't stumble out of the 60s that great. The 70s was like a weird time. And I'm not the biggest Roger Moore fan. I didn't hate him, but I didn't love him. And you could tell by the time we reached A View to a Kill with, you know, who is the villain? Wow, Mr. Bond. This here. Did you see my villain? I got horses. I ride him bareback. Just like the ladies in my life. All bareback. Now, I'm going to have this blimp. Big blimp. It's going to fly. Like an eagle. You know, or a dodo bird. They don't fly. And you could tell most of that movie is comprised more of Roger Moore stunt doubles than Roger Moore. And he just looked tired. I mean, I hate to say it, but the man was 55. And I don't think he did too many things outside of Bond movies. Because once Bond movies, especially in the 70s, really started building traction again, you look at the timeline, like you had one every 2 years. Like they were just shitting these things out left and right. And they did fine, but we know, one, saturation becomes a thing. And two, you know, the more we saw Roger Moore, the more we saw kind of that, like, okay. But the fact that he made 7, if I have that right, is pretty impressive.
Shit, wait, he made more than Connery? I didn't think that.
I believe he made more than Connery, or close to it.
Wow.
Yeah, or really close to it. But
wow.
Oh yeah. But Martin Campbell is one of those that I've always enjoyed, and the man is still making movies, and now that Hollywood doesn't have to be what it used to be, where they were like the gatekeepers. He still does a lot of movies like overseas. He did The Foreigner with Jackie Chan and Pierce Brosnan, which I enjoyed, even though, of course, you know, the concern is, well, they're going to put Jackie Chan in this kind of realistic type of movie, but you know what he's known for. And there's a nice balance there. Like, I think they did a really good job. It's kind of a sad movie, but it's solid. And No Escape is one of those fun little ditties for me that I enjoy. The second one was a horror movie. I think we've talked about a little bit on here. And I love it because it is literally one of the greatest mind fucks of all time. And it's a French horror movie called High Tension.
We have mentioned that, yes.
That movie, I you know, now that, and I'm not shy about this stuff, but I went to the VA. I, like many of us, dealing with a lot. So I got put back on my old bipolar, depression, anxiety meds. So I'm on a shit ton of like lithium and Lexapro. I'm on enough to calm down and comatose Lewis Black. You know, oh, that's a lot of drug. You know, that's kind of it. That's kind of where we're at. Hell, that might even mellow out Al Pacino. All right. So listen, I wrote a biography. It's a memoir. I don't know if I got that right. It's French. Do I look French? Not French. But I wrote it because I had a kid with a girl who's the same age as my daughters. I basically hooked up with a girl to make her my own grandparent. He talks about it's, and Al's like, I mean, he's fascinating to begin with, but you know, I just, there, especially some movies, we've obviously gone into it before, but like there are some movies like, I'd love to hear him just narrate. Like, he doesn't even have to be like in the movie. I would love it in the case of like Shawshank Redemption. So listen here, Andy Dufresne. He walked all through miles of muck and God knows what else. I would just love to hear that. But he talks about, going on a side tangent here, he actually talks a little bit about why he did some of the movies he did, because he went broke. He was one of those actors that just burned through money. He was paying his landscaper $500,000 a year.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
How?
Well,
How?
the biggest. So first of all, he has always said he has been bad with money, and he's even worse with money when he has it. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're with you there, Al. But considering like as much as the man has made in some of his roles, but he talks about like always being bad with money, and then he had an accountant that really hosed him and actually went to prison for like 9 years.
Oh shit!
For screwing over Al and other people. Wow. So yeah, it's literally one of those things where it's like, I mean, the man was never going to not have work, but he was also one of those actors. Like after a while, you watch his career, and it's like, yeah, you're going to be in supporting roles and stuff. Like you're a mainstay, you're like a legacy. But when people are like, well, how the hell did he make Jack and Jill? And he literally was like, he goes, I was broke. He goes, I had land and I had possessions. And he goes, I had maybe like $100 in my bank account. He goes, I spent. I was told I could spend. And I didn't watch the bottom line, and I kept spending. And then the next thing I know, it's like, I have all this crap, but I don't have money. And that was kind of the key difference. And he said, he looks back, he goes, I'm glad I did it. He goes, people judged, of course, but he also was like, they paid me a lot. And it was never a case of like, they treated it like, oh, well, you're poor, you better do it. He did it because he actually liked Adam Sandler. And Adam Sandler was like, yeah, if you want to do it. He did. They paid him very well for that cameo because he's not in the movie very long, but people know he's in the movie.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he has nothing but sweet things to say about that particular experience, which I appreciate, like with Nick Cage, like the spending that man went through. And then he worked excessively to pay off his IRS debt. And he even says, he goes, I don't have any shame in it. He goes, I had to work. He goes, I may not have made like, the best movies or worked with the best people. He goes, but I was there to be a part of something, and I was. So, to it, like, it's like, yeah, sometimes if you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, I mean, that's important. That matters in those kind of cases. But high tension, for those who haven't seen it, highly recommend it. It's fucking bananas. It is one of those movies. It is one of those movies that, especially being a foreign film and not knowing where to go with it, is very much a case of, okay, like this is what they're doing in France, huh? Yeah.
I have to revisit because I haven't seen it since I first got the DVD of it. So I should revisit. I do believe it has a Blu-ray now too. I'll have to look into that. And speaking of, I've watched now, I don't know if we've talked about this, but for the last, I don't know how many years, I just haven't watched many movies because I just haven't.
Right.
But now I have a lot more time to watch movies. Plus, I have this stepper thing, and I'll just do this thing, and I'll be on this stepper for like hours at a time, and I'll be watching like TV and movies to like, like this past week. Let's see, what did I watch? I watched that Salem's Lot. I thought it was going to be a dumpster fire. It wasn't like
it's
great.
not. It's not a total for me. It's not a total. It's not a total shit show. It's really not. But
yeah, I was expecting a lot worse than we got with that.
Well, it's pretty basic to what we've seen before with this story. And the issue I have with this particular version of Salem's Lot is, at least what I'm getting from it, and maybe you agree, is that there is a filmmaker who is absolutely fucking amazing by the name of Mike Flanagan.
Yes.
And I think there was something going on with the movie that was a little twofold. One, everybody's trying to copy that because somebody who knows how to like develop characters and get the right people and just have an eye for what he does. And especially with a lot of Stephen King stuff, like he's a fan as well, obviously. So they're trying to hold in that, and then like, yeah, we're doing a Mike Flanagan thing. We're trying to get at that level, but not using Mike Flanagan. So you have kind of this, well, here's the bar. We're trying to keep to that, but we know we really can't. And it doesn't help that Mike Flanagan made a show on Netflix. For those who haven't seen it, it is a massive recommend must watch called Midnight Mass.
Okay. I didn't now see I didn't see Midnight Mass. I saw Haunting of Hill House, but I did not.
Okay. Haunting of Hill House is pretty amazing too.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But Midnight Mass is literally, I mean, in a good way. It's I wouldn't say it's like ripped off, but it is very much a, oh, look, you got this. You've got Salem's Lot, but let's take kind of the ideas and what's going on and integrate it into Midnight Mass. Honestly, if you want a better version of Midnight Mass, your best bet is to go with, I guess the best way to put it is, if you want a better version of Salem's Lot, go with Midnight Mass. Mm-hmm. Salem's Lot is fine. The HBO one that they delayed forever and people were freaking out about, it's fine. It's not bad. Oh, okay. Instead of fine, because I know what fine translates to for you. I'm going to go with it's okay.
Fine translates to, yes, okay. I'll take that.
We'll go with okay.
Fine, and I was like, yeah, because when you said fine, I was like, okay.
You perked up. You're like, I know what that means.
I'm like, I know what fine means to me based on your definition of fine, and I think that you think it's a little better than fine, so I'll take okay. I'll take that.
It's a fun one to watch. I think the fact that it did go to streaming is in its favor. Because it goes down easy, but you're not really well, first of all, you're playing with a lot of tropes. That's nothing new. But like I said, you now have a particular filmmaker who has set that bar so high with some of this stuff that you really can't. You got to come correct, especially with a lot of Stephen King stuff. And remember, Mike Flanagan is still on the hook to do the Dark Tower series on Amazon.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
And he's taken over The Exorcist after that shit show.
Yeah. And like I posted on, I reposted something that somebody posted on X, and they said something that they say that Flanagan says his Exorcist will be the scariest thing ever made. And my thing is, I still think it should be left alone because, but if there's one person that can maybe salvage it or make some good from it, it's Flanagan.
Flanagan is one of those that, and it's funny because I know for a lot of people, because, he made like Oculus, and he also made the sequel to Ouija board or Ouija or whatever it's called. But he made the, how do I put it? He made a great companion movie for a first movie that was shit. And then he actually did it as, and it wasn't even a retcon, but he did it as a prequel. Like, it's funny how it's supposed to kind of go with the first movie, but it really doesn't. It's not even set in the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it is. I mean, it's one that I remember stumbling across it about a year ago, give or take, and not realizing it was like, oh shit, this is Mike Flanagan. And right off the jump, I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And I saw it and I was like, boom. So, I mean, I think he can do a lot with it, especially in his mind, the way it works. But once again, the beef, and we've talked about it with Exorcist before, is the fact that you can't just point to it. I'm still trying to figure out who thought $400 million for those rights was a good idea.
Yeah, that person, I think, needs a whipping, because that's something you just don't do. You don't do that. Like, that makes no sense. But you know what? And I'm jumping off for 1 second, because speaking of prequels, I watched a film, and I'm pretty sure that you saw this as well. And all right, because here's the thing. Now that I watched movies on this stepper, when I'm on the stepper doing the steps, it creaks like you would not believe.
So movies is the best distraction. That's awesome.
Well, so I've started watching the movies and TV when I'm on the stepper with headphones, because that way it'll drown out the creak, and I'll have like the sound of the movies in my ears. So it's like, I don't know, it just makes watching movies different. I don't know why, but
I can see that.
Different.
Well, and I think, experience, especially with anything movie-wise, matters. But I also know that I would think, like, what you're doing comes with like a certain rhythm. And while you're doing that and watching the movie, like, it kind of helps keep you focused. Because I watch movies and YouTube videos, and it's funny how some of that stuff will just bounce off my head, where I'm like,
yeah,
what do you, I'll be sitting there staring at it for God knows how long, and I'll get hit with, hey, what are you watching? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
apparently there's a movie here.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, okay, so today, after, and actually no, today, after Wolf of Wall Street, I decided, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna watch Alien Romulus, because I wanted to see.
Oh, you finally saw it
around when theaters and stuff, and I'm like, now it's available at home, so I figured, you know what, I'll give it a shot. So I did, and is it blasphemy to say that I thought Alien Romulus was better than Prometheus and Covenant?
Oh, like, God, no! You're right on the head. You've nailed it.
I wish that those two movies would have never been made, and I forgive Fede Alvarez for his lying transgressions with the Evil Dead remake. He did not lie to me with Alien Romulus, and I commend him in the highest honor, because he did good with Romulus, and we should have gotten it 10 years ago. 10 years.
Agreed.
The other two that came before, it should have just been Romulus, because that took us back to it took me back. I felt like I was watching the 1979 original, especially with the Rook introduction. I was like, Are you fucking serious right now? Are you fucking serious right now? Then the fucking, with the headphones on, you hear the fucking little fucking creatures go right in the fucking ears, and I fucking almost jumped off of the fucking.
Oh yeah, that movie. I'm glad you finally seen it, and I'm glad your takeaway was the same as mine, because of course, and it was funny because, as usual with my girlfriend, it's like, hey, we're gonna go see this, we're gonna go do this, and it's like, when do I sit out like an Alien movie? Like, why, of all the things that could be wants, like, why would I sit that out? Like, that's not going to happen. Of course we're going. That's automatic. That's a given. And I, first things first, and they don't really connect that dot 100%. I get that in the world, and of course, a lot of these movies play like fan fiction now, but I know that if you're going to do something with characters, like, you can't keep bringing people back. Now, bringing back Ian Holmes' character, I didn't hate it, but I also know I didn't need it. But I let it go. I was like, okay, that's cool. But I'm also like, yeah, I didn't have to have him. Like, you could have used a host of other people's, and I think it would have probably connected the same. So I was okay with that. It felt a little weird at first. That was actually Ridley Scott's idea. To have him, and of course, with the blessing of his family and his estate, they made it happen. But like I said, it was one of those things, like, I didn't have to have it. But everything else, like, you felt projected back to those movies. Like, you really felt like it was, and I love the fact that it wasn't on LV 426, which you could have put it. The only hang up when I look back is that they're still pushing the whole engineer Prometheus thing, which is, I mean, it's weird how somebody comes back to a franchise that they spearheaded and literally created a genre on its own. The ideal of a sci-fi horror movie just didn't, I mean, until Ridley Scott took his whack at it. Like, we got, B movies and stuff like that with people in like rubber suits, and it's like, oh, they're terrifying. And it's like, no, they're not. And then you move forward and you look, and it's like, oh, wow. Now we have, wait a minute. This is kind of terrifying, especially in a movie, the first one, in like an insanely enclosed space where it's like, well, they're on a ship. How scary can this be? It's like, this can be pretty fucking scary, as we've seen. And then he revisits it 30 plus years later, almost 40 years later. And it's like, wait, we didn't need to know all of that. And I do appreciate the fact that we didn't get, them trying to tack on, Ripley or anything to that effect. But I was also very much the mindset of, you don't need to tell us old stories in the place of new stories and try to pass it off as a new story. Like, tell us about where things go from here, and too caught up in the ideal of the past. Not to mention, one thing you and I both know is that they always have to find a way to get a ship to go someplace. Romulus at least was a case of, oh, well, the shit's there, we shouldn't even have been there. Like, that's one of those, and I've always been a fan, a little or a lot. I've always been a fan of characters in bad situations doing things that lead them into worse situations. And Romulus checked so many boxes. They got so much stuff right. The lead actress is fantastic. The young man who plays, what was it, David or Walter?
The android thing.
Yes.
Andy?
Yes. Oh, Andy. That's right, Andy. Duh. He was fantastic, especially considering he technically had to play dual roles. Yeah. And it was pretty awesome to see. I took my son to see it, so I saw it twice in the theater. And one of my favorite things to do is hang out with my kiddos. One of my favorite to do on top of that is take them to the movies, and that's one of my favorite things to do. that was probably the first time watching a movie where my son was like squirming in the seat because it was like so on edge and just uneasy. And I was just like, I was getting more out of watching him and his reaction as opposed to just seeing what was on the screen. We walk out of there and he was like in flop sweat. He was dripping with sweat. It was freaking hilarious because for me, I'm like, I don't want to like freak him out or anything, but yeah, he was like, oh my God. He goes, that was just astonishing. And nothing beats a good time at the movies. It's always, anytime you can walk away from a movie and you felt something, even if it's like disdain. Like in the case of Madam Web, like I felt disdain leaving that movie, especially considering we totally jinxed ourselves by saying, hey, let's go see how bad it is. But that was pretty bad. In the case of, so as far as just a little peer behind the curtain of my 2 worst movies of the year. One is The Crow.
Oh,
which we got to touch on a little bit.
Yeah, I tried. But after 13 minutes, I was like, you know what? I'm out. I can't.
You did try.
I was watching it. I literally was watching it, and I was like, you know what? I don't care. Like I was watching it, I don't care. And even being on the stepper and stepping away, I'm still watching it, and I'm like, this is making the steps painful. The steps are painful because of this movie, and I can't do it. I can't. So I stopped.
That movie. So the other shitstorm for me was Exorcist Believer.
Oh.
Yeah. That was this year, right? Or was it last year?
No, wait. You know
See,
what?
That movie is so shitty we can't even remember when the hell it happened.
No, I think that was last year. It had to be last year. Yeah, it had to be last year.
Let's see.
It had to be because I watched that with my mother before.
Oh yeah, it is 2023. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess for now the top dog is going to be The Crow. And The Crow, and here's the thing: the Crow. Main reason why I hate that movie as much as I do. And it kind of goes back to what I just said. And we'll actually talk about a movie that made me feel something. Not good, but it made me feel something.
Yeah.
As you know, our title card online shows or whatever it's called. The Crow is one of those movies where it's soulless. There's nothing applied to it. And you have people who are doing their best. But there's nothing there. It's kind of like looking into a void. Like you see all the action, you see what's supposed to be drama played out, but none of it translates to anything. Doesn't connect to the audience. It is very much one of those movies that's just kind of there. You don't get a lot of the motivations. You don't get why the motivations of the filmmakers took on the form they did. There's just a lot happening that sums up to nothing. And as a filmmaker or as a film goer, it's like, well, who the fuck cares? That's the biggest thing with me. In the case of Madam Web, some of that stuff, obviously, I laughed at unintentionally, but it drew a response. It wasn't a case of just there. And it's not even boredom. That's the weird thing. Like to be bored is to kind of feel something. It's almost like I look at the new Crow as like looking at one of those old Viewmasters. back in the day, the little orange things with the clicks. And it's like, oh, here's the thing. Cool. Here's the thing. Cool. Here's the thing. Cool. The new Crow has 0 engagement. And there's just nothing to care about. You look at it and you're like, okay. 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 And that was it. Like, it's crazy to think like just how just dissociative the whole movie was and the experience or lack thereof. Wow. In the case of, and even though it was last year, in the case of Exorcist, like that was the case. Like there's just nothing there. Just, none of it makes sense. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, cool. Got it. Cool. Okay. Fantastic. And you kind of have to just chalk it up that way because there's nothing else there. See, in the case of bad movies, when you don't like them, people don't see it that way, and I get why. But if you don't like something, that connects. It's the middle space. It's that or less than that where you're just like, okay. Yeah, as far as The Crow, I think that's what makes it so damn horrible. Just I couldn't give a shit less. I couldn't give a shit if it ever got made, and I don't care about anything going forward. That's actually how I feel about Star Wars as a franchise. It's literally just, okay, you've got stuff. Mm-hmm. That's it. Okay, cool. All right. Lesbian space witches. Okay, cool. Like if you're not gonna bring me into the scape, into the world, and then expound on these people and show me what I should be caring about, fuck do I care? Like that's really what it's come down to. With a lot of movies as well, with a lot of franchises. When the machine just keeps churning, we become numb. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that squeak you have on your machine. Like it will just drone. It's just going to keep doing what it's doing. No positive effect, no negative effect, no feeling. Just, it's just like the Energizer Bunny. It just keeps happening.
Yep.
And after a while, you just become kind of desolate to it because you're like, okay. That's my hang up with The Crow, which right now is probably the worst movie. Now, is Madam Web still a shitbox? Oh, absolutely. But at least I could gain some type of fun out of it, even if it was unintentional.
But you know what I'm thinking? Because there's one movie that you saw that I don't think and I love the first one, but I do not think I'm going to I don't think I can do the Foley, whatever the fuck they call it.
Foley a Don't. Oh, this is my cue. Yeah. And warning up front, folks, there is going to be spoilers because I have no reason to fucking save this movie. And Mike, if you're okay with spoilers since you haven't seen it yet.
Please.
Oh, boy.
Please spoil it because I'm not going to see it. No.
So, Foley a Deux is the sequel. I got a new one for it. Are you ready? I was just thinking about this one.
Yeah, what do we got?
Joker Foley a Dildo.
Oh, I like it.
That'll be the porn version. Foley a
Doo-doo.
Foley a Dick.
Yep, it'll be
Foley
out.
a dipsy doodle in a doodle's ass.
Oh,
Foley a flying fuck in a rolling donut hole.
Somebody will do it. I guarantee you.
So, Joker Foley a Dipshit is the sequel to the 2019, and I use the term. This is an IMO, in my opinion, the masterpiece from 2019 that starred Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro. And, you know, for those who had been following it, we obviously heard the murmurs and the rumors of what this was going to be. You know, there was going to be musical numbers. There was going to be a lot of courtroom and prison scenes. That it was going to, of course, have Lady Gaga, who,
yes,
and I won't even have to spoil this part. She's amazing in it. She is.
That doesn't surprise me.
She's fantastic. Of course, she can sing like nobody's business, and I've been a fan of hers forever.
Right,
but there is something about this. Well, there's a few things. So let me start actually with the first movie so I can associate the second and then kind of go from there. Because you have to look at one to look at the other. And the reason why I say that is because Folie a Dumb shit does not seem like it's a sequel to the first movie.
Oh.
It does something very unique, and I have no clue why the fuck they did it, because it doesn't add up for me. But so first movie, obviously, you know, Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix, you know, is showing us, and you could call him the protagonist loosely, but you know, he's very much an anti-hero, and rightly so. But he's the center of the story. And the first thing I loved about it was at no point even showing the shit he went to. And it is terrible. And he suffered through some terrible stuff, that character. At no point were they trying to make him sympathetic. He was a guy who was lost to the world. Nobody could give two shits about him no matter what. And he was abused in many ways. If I remember correctly, he technically didn't know who his new parent was because the woman who raised him kind of stole him. So this is a guy who has always been, he's always had it hard. He's always been in a rough place and has struggled, like many of us. And to have the Joker of all characters under that kind of filter. And one of the first things that it was compared to was Taxi Driver. Speaking of Scorsese movies, one of my favorites. And Taxi Driver is not an easy pill to swallow. It's a magnificent movie. It is, especially at that time in his career, you know, it's definitely Scorsese at his pinnacle. De Niro, same thing. But it is a descension into madness. And I always enjoy movies like that, even though they're really dark kind of tunnels to fall down. But it's a lot. But it is also one of those things where if you're willing to go on that kind of ride, it's worth the price of admission, but you got to hang on. So by the time we get to the end of the first movie, we've basically seen like metamorphosis, you know, from like, you know, a chrysalis to a butterfly. And it was fascinating the way the whole thing was accomplished, number one. And I think number two was, you know, very early on, you realize that Arthur is a very, very unreliable narrator in the sense of what's in between, not necessarily from where he started to where he got to. So by the time you get to the end with him on the car, you know, kind of striking the smile, it's harrowing. It's kind of wonderful in what you're seeing. And no, he's obviously not a good person, but he was somebody who was shit on his entire life. And we all, I think part of what the allure and why the first movie made so much fucking money was just how well it was done. Visually, it's spectacular. It blows my mind that this is from Todd Phillips, who fucking made the goddamn Hangover trilogy.
Right.
You know, and very much, you know, just cinematography is off the chain. as far as the odes to like Taxi Driver, absolutely there. So that's the first movie. And it is so well done. It is extremely well done. I don't revisit it as much as I would like because it's kind of heavy stuff. But when I do revisit it, like I love watching those kind of movies and just being reminded over and over again why I love them. Apocalypse Now, of course, is definitely in that. Real quick, a 30-year shout out. I want to cry, but this is also this is a big deal. Yeah. So this week, two movies that have truly made my life. Like it made me see the world differently, and like many of these movies that we love, they're like companions all along the way. 30th anniversary of Pulp Fiction.
Oh Christ, I'm so old.
Yep.
I can't believe
get your butt exams. But yeah, that is absolutely accurate. 30 years of Pulp Fiction. And it is my favorite movie. Anybody who's ever met me knows how much I love that movie. A couple Christmases ago, my daughter bought me a Pulp Fiction t-shirt because I had one and I'm not sure where it went, but she was like, yeah, I wasn't sure what to get you. But she was like, she had worked at Target at the time. But she was like, I walked past this display and they had the Pulp Fiction t-shirt. And she goes, I knew. She goes, I fucking knew. She goes, the second I saw it. And I said, yeah. I said, there you go. That movie I got to see for the first time in one of my theaters. It took like couple months to leave Waikiki. So actually, I didn't have a car at the time, so everything was by bus. So when it got closer, I finally saw it. And I remember not knowing what I saw. I was like, what the fuck just happened? What just happened? What did you, I can't, what did you, what the, just, I mean, absolutely mesmerizing. Absolutely just, it made me see movies differently. Because obviously growing up, I mean, I saw what was on cable like anything else, but it was like, wow, this can happen. And I remember not knowing what to feel about it, but I also knew that I couldn't wait to see it again, whenever that would be. I saw Pulp Fiction in the theater 11 times.
Holy shit.
I saw it 11 fucking times.
You beat my
And every time, like, I notice something new, and I just love going along with the beats. It's just revisiting an old friend. I've had it on cassette. I've had it on DVD. I have copies of the screenplay. I've had all kind of things committed to Pulp Fiction. As a matter of fact, my key holder at the front of the apartment is Jules and Vincent with their 45s out. And it says, "Jeez, motherfucker." Yeah, I got to send you a picture. But yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've got a poster. I've got a poster in the living room of Pulp Fiction. And yeah, that movie, I mean, and after that, I mean, obviously, became a fan of Quentin, or at least his movies, not necessarily him as a person, but that's another subject. But
well, he's,
well, discussion for another time.
Yes.
But I will say this, that when I went, and after I watched that movie and kind of realized and everything, is when I turned around after that and was like, okay, so if this can happen, where did it come from? And just learning about him as working at a video store and writing this stuff on his time off. And, in some cases, like trying to work a second job and just, just pushing through it when you look at this stuff. And, he's had his screenplays adapted in ways he's hated. He hates Natural Born Killers.
I've heard that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
purchased, and that literally turned into something he did not want. Like his obvious take on it was something else. But at the time, like he was selling screenplays because he had to.
Right.
So they think he sold, if I have it right, I think he sold Natural Born Killers for like 75,000, and he sold True Romance for like 50 grand. And in the case of True Romance, that movie, oh my God, that even done by Tony Scott, there is no question that movie's from Tarantino. And that is literally like, if Tarantino had like a pick your adventure type of video game, it would be that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much of it that's there. But learning about him expanded my world. Because after I learned about him, after I watched that, and even though I had already seen Hard Target, I didn't know the roots of like John Woo. And then I got to see Hard Boiled, which is my favorite action movie of all time. And a lot of his influences obviously were like, okay, now I'm going to watch this. Now I'm going to watch that. Ah, that's where he got that from. Oh, that's where he got that from. So there's so much that movie has kind of just given to me. Of course, Samuel L. Jackson, and my son is a huge Samuel L. Jackson fan. Uma Thurman, who I still hope to make my sixth ex-wife. Travolta being Travolta. And of course, I hid this watch up my ass. Yeah. Well, hello, little man. Jeez. Remind me of my son, Jim. And I never get tired of watching it. I don't watch it all the time, but I never get tired of watching it. And of course, every now and then I got to go back to it. It's my favorite movie of all time, right next to Goodfellas, which is my second favorite movie of all time. So 30 years, God. I mean, we're old, but the movie looks great for its age. Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
And then
I want to go back and watch it again.
Uh-huh. You got to have an opinion. You think God came down from heaven and stopped the bullets? The second movie that comes to mind this week, and it was actually today. And once again, this is another movie where it's like, I can't see my life without it. Like I wouldn't know what that would look like. And not just that movie, but what came of that movie. So it is, yeah, and I know you didn't have the best experience, but Clerks turned 30 today.
Well, no, Clerks as a movie. Look, Kevin Smith as a filmmaker, I can appreciate. I love, okay, like all of his stuff, up into and including. Well, look, I love everything up until Reboot. I thought was okay, but I think now his writing style is changing.
Right.
Like he's changing, and I don't like it. He needs to get back to like what Clerks was, because Clerks is perfection.
Right.
Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like everybody was like with the 4:30 movie, they were like, well, the 4:30 movie is like his best thing since Clerks 2, and I'm like, no. Clerks 2 is brilliant. 4:30 movie is like, it wishes it could be Clerks 2.
I'm still looking forward to it.
Clerks I love. Well, no, I want you to see it, because I'm secretly hoping that you watch it and you come back to me and you tell me that it's fine, and then I'll be like, yes, he sees that it's slipping, and he's not the Kevin Smith that he was in 94. 94 Kevin Smith is if I could have met 94 Kevin Smith in 2019,
right,
I guarantee you it would have been, he wouldn't have blown me off, and it would have been perfect.
See,
Clerks-
I personally, Clerks is one of those movies because I remember hearing about it more than knowing. Like, oh,
Same with me at the beginning.
there's this kid and blah 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 and all that stuff, and it is very much one of those things where it's like, and I collected.
Mhm.
So I collected comics, a place called Jellies. And I remember there was a poster for it, and I was like, what's this? And, was hoping it was going to come to Hawaii when I was growing up, and it didn't. So the place I worked at the time, there was some friends of mine there, and they were very much like into it. They were like, okay, let's check it out, and yada, 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 and all that stuff. And we actually took it to a friend's house so we could watch it around his TV. His parents were like super strict. So we went downstairs to watch it. Yeah. And it was me, him, and a friend of ours. And it was the three of us. And we're talking about like 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, boy.
Watching this movie. And we were supposed to be quiet because we were told to be quiet.
Not going to happen.
Oh, my God. We never had a chance. We never had a chance. That shit. Well, and first of all, it was a case of, oh, hey, this is one of those type of movies. Once again, similar to Pulp Fiction, I'd never seen. I wasn't sure what I was getting. I wasn't sure what was happening. But what I loved was the fact that, Kevin Smith movies and his career as a whole kind of taught me that I wasn't alone. There was something about it where I could watch, even watching Clerks, I literally had that, wow, there's people like me and my friends who are total dipshits, kind of seen as losers, but we exist for us. Like, we're not worried about what everybody else thinks of us in the sense of what that all looks like. We don't have that in our heads because we know what we like, and we don't have to make apologies for it. We don't have to sit there and censor ourselves. So for me, that was like the first thing I got from that, especially when they talked about, like, wasn't even like talking about the subject of Star Wars. Like, it was, hey, they brought in all these independent contractors, and it was like, like looking at what's really there kind of behind it and watching it so much to kind of examine it. Like, what did you like better, Empire or Jedi? Empire. Blasphemy.
Yep.
Empire was nothing. Empire had a down ending. And that's what life is. Nothing but down endings. All Jedi had was a bunch of fucking Muppets,
Yep.
So very much, once again, like, that showed me what movies could be. I was very just taken with it. And then I remember actually watching when I saw Mallrats for the first time, and it didn't click with me. And I know for a lot of people, a lot of those movies, a lot of time a filmmaker hits it big, like they make a second movie and it's like, well, this isn't like the first movie. And it's like, well, trajectories of careers don't follow a direct path. Like, they never will.
Right.
It's very important to kind of see it that way, where, and in the case of Mallrats, like, he literally went from like a $30,000 budget to like a $6 million budget. You know, and it kind of, that hurt his career, but then 15 years later it came back around. You know, and then you had Chasing Amy. So his career has been so many ebbs and flows. But you know, ultimately, like, I think, I mean, next to Clerks, of course, but one of the big ones for me where I was like, especially growing up, like super Catholic, watching Dogma, I was like, holy shit. I'm like, this is a thing. Like, this is awesome. You know, and at the same time, like, you know, pretty blasphemous.
Right.
But, you know, definitely a thing. So to those two movies and to the impact they've made on many of us, just, you know, Quentin's got one more movie apparently in the chamber. The one he was supposed to make, he decided to not do, but he said he's done at 10 movies. That's his plan. We'll see. On the case of Kevin Smith, you know, he's jokingly, he said he's not going to stop making movies until he makes 37.
I can, yeah, I get that. But the thing is, he's got to step his game back up. Because, and if he makes
the next movie is a giant Silent Bob movie, so.
Okay, as long as it's not like a Clerks 4, because I
think, just my 2 cents, I think he needs to leave. I think he needs to leave Clerks alone. And a lot of it just has to do with the fact that I think everything that has been said has been said. I don't know
anything else.
Well, and part of it just comes back to like, well, how many times do you want to come back to that well?
Yeah.
You know, how many times? How many times does it need to be? You know,
all 3 though.
Huh?
I do like all 3. I like all 3. I think all 3 are like really good. You know, and that surprises me because 3 is in this, what I like the term, new Kevin Smith age. So you wouldn't expect 3 to be like 1 and 2, but I still, you know, 3 got me right in the feels. I don't know how it was for you, but 3 got me right in the feels.
3 got me in the feels hard. I saw it in the theater and I fucking cried my ass off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where they got to with 3 makes the point. I mean, if he wants to make 4, I mean, that's his call, but he doesn't need. They don't need a 4th movie. And honestly, I like 3. I enjoy 3 very much.
Yeah.
But after 2, I didn't need to see more because between 2 to 3, man, that shit took a turn.
Yeah, it did. It did. And I love like with 2, one of my favorite scenes in 2 was when they're in the jail cell, like close to the end. And they have the thing, you know, with Randall and Dante, and he's like, "You're my best friend," and like that, fucking, oh my, it's still just thinking of it right now.
Oh yeah,
is making me fucking well up just because it's powerful stuff, you know. It really,
yeah,
so.
it's very much one of those things. It's once again, it kind of goes back to, you know, what we carry with us. You know, even when the franchises may take a certain turn, you know, it doesn't really change how we feel about it as a whole. Because I know a lot of people, you know, with Kevin Smith's career, like they felt like it's taken a turn and he's gotten soft, and it's like, well, that does happen because ultimately many careers, and I've said it before and I say it again, I know it probably sounds like a broken record, but many careers are a product of their time, like as far as like trajectory goes. And then in the case of Kevin Smith movies, that's definitely the case. You know,
Yeah.
Especially now, you know, he just turned 53. 6 years ago, he had a heart attack. You know, he's gone vegan. He sees the world differently. And now more than ever, like, you know, there was a time where there was some degree of studio association with the Kevin Smith movie. And, you know, he started as an independent filmmaker at the time when like independent film was truly like, yeah, you can go ask people for money. You can go see if they'll hook you up and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you know, you had to go looking for money. And, you know, Miramax was at the front of that because they were such a small outfit. And in a lot of cases, it was just grabbing the filmmakers they could. And to their favor, at least as far as this goes, other shit with Miramax, once again, that's another story altogether. But ultimately, you know, they got their hands on like Soderbergh, and they got their hands on like fucking Tarantino and Kevin Smith. Like they were really, they either had a really good eye or they were super lucky or a bit of both. Because they did have a lot going for them. And then of course you had, you know, Dimension Pictures, which of course like Robert Rodriguez and so many of these, you know, kind of scrappy filmmakers that could just pull it out of their ass. And you know, they helped move that independent scene so far forward that it actually ended up collapsing on itself, because then you were like, well, here's an independent movie made for $60 million. And it's like, no, that's not where we're going with any of this. Like for a lot of it, it was like, you guys kind of lost the plot, but a company like Miramax could do that. That's what happens when you have Disney backing you. And then you're so successful. Once again, as always, Hollywood likes its trends. That's why you had like kind of those mini major kind of studios. You know, every major studio had an independent kind of office or made smaller movies. And it was weird because when you look back, you're kind of like, yeah, but that's not really how it was supposed to go. When Disney acquired Miramax, you know, nobody expected that you would take the independent movie scene and kind of just watch it implode on itself. And now, as far as independent movies, I mean, people making fucking movies on their phones.
Basically, that's what we're having these days. You know what I mean?
Well, and on top of streaming, like, and the crazy thing is like now it won't implode on itself, because when I hear people still have like satellite TV, I'm like, why? What is it that you need from satellite TV? What is it that you get out of that, except kind of maybe this niche mindset? Other than that, I'm like, yeah, I still know people who are like, hey, I'll get a satellite dish. And it's like, okay, if you're trying to talk to fucking Marvin the Martian from the Warner Brothers cartoons, go for it.
Right.
But yeah, those two movies really just, it's very much, they've just given so much to me and so many of us, and you know, I got to meet Kevin Smith, and like I was actually talking about it today to somebody, and I still get misty eyed thinking about it. Just it was just the experience I needed when I needed it, especially the entire time walking through the line. I'm like, all right, hold it together. All right, don't be an emotional mess. Okay, hold it together. Yeah. Don't be an emotional mess. Don't be fuck, I'm an emotional mess. So to those two movies, you look good. You look good for 30 years later. We do not. We're fucking old.
Yes.
What are you gonna do?
And I'll tell you who really doesn't look good. That clip that you sent me of Al Pacino. He really does not. Like, he's the gut on him these days. Holy shit. Wow.
All
So
right.
he can't even hide it.
He is 83, 84.
I still can't believe it. Like, oh my
I still
God.
can't believe he just fucked recently to make a kid.
Well, yeah, that's another thing on top of it. Like, holy shit.
All right. Now you're gonna feel some sagging nuts. Don't worry. It's not saltwater taffy. It's just my saggy nuts.
Do you think though? I mean, let's be real. She did all the work. She had to have, and he just laid there. I would think at this point.
I just
don't
think he
know.
was like, I just think it's weird that he was like, well, I want to see what the paternity test looks like. I don't think I can make a baby anymore. Oh shit! Lo and behold, that little son of a bitch is gonna cost me 30 G's a month.
Oh,
But I told you before, he probably relates to his kid well. They both run around in diapers and fucking speak gibberish. So, like father, like son.
Yep. At that point,
I feel a little bad for the kid because obviously he's not gonna know his dad very well. I mean, even if Al lives another 10 years, he would be in his mid-90s. So once again, it's like not knowing his dad. You know? Because the older you get, you know, the more you slip. So, I mean, and Al, his face lights up. Like on that, like that one interview, like his face really lighted up where he was like, you know, it's fun. And I think he gets the duality of like, yeah, it's fun. And it's like, holy shit, my days are numbered. I will probably be dead very soon. But that means I get out of changing diapers.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder like how many movies he's like if he's still actively making films or if he just takes whatever he can to just like.
I know he's still trying to act and the man still has presence. But a perfect example is he went, and it was, I think he got like 20 million. But The Irishman that he made with De Niro on Netflix, where they did the CGI to make them younger, but they end up just looking like weird sex dolls of themselves from Temu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I still enjoy the movie. I mean, that's a movie Scorsese was trying to get off the ground for years.
It was a good one.
I enjoyed it. It was very much that Scorsese to kind of where we're at now, but I did enjoy it. But there's a scene, and they made a really good point in the behind the scenes. So there's a scene where he's watching something on TV with his family, and you know he's playing Jimmy Hoffa, and he's basically just getting up off the couch, getting another beer. And you can't miss it because Al was already like 80 or 79. He does not look like, now Hoffa was supposed to be like Hoffa was supposed to be like 43 at the time in that scene.
Oh shit.
He did not look like a 43-year-old getting out of a chair. He looked like a 79-year-old getting out of the chair. And right. You know, you can CGI until the cows come home, but especially like movement and mannerisms, like they don't just change. Like you can kind of see this stuff and go, oh, okay, well, yeah, he's obviously older and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to like, I can tell the man still wants to work. Like he did that House of Gucci with Ridley Scott and, you know, still trying to do it. But there is a huge difference between certain actors at certain ages who are kind of more dialed in, like Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford is like, he just doesn't he doesn't need to stop.
Yeah.
For him, oddly enough, at this point in his career, he's seeing it as a way to kind of reinvent himself. which is kind of funny because it's like, dude, you're like 81. Like, you don't need the money. You don't need to put yourself through this stuff. And it has taken some tolls on him. You know, there's been reports, of course, but like he's 80 and he's still giving it his best. And that's really all you can do. So, will Al keep going? I want to say yes, but I think some of his roles will be very limited. But, you know, he published a memoir, and I think he realized he's kind of at that point in his life. And especially with a new kid, it's like, yeah, he'll probably keep doing things as long as he can. It's just a question of when he hits that wall. And we know sooner or later, like Michael Gabon, like he was one of those that just he realized he couldn't remember his lines anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think he had an onset of dementia where he just knew he couldn't do it. His brain wasn't right for it. Jack Nicholson is kind of in the same boat. You know, Jack Nicholson's like 83. So, you know, it's the passing of time. Like we watch these legends and then we kind of like, yeah, they can't do it forever. So you just got to enjoy it while I can. I could see Al doing maybe like a couple more movies. Yeah. Probably somewhat limited roles, but I could see him doing a couple more movies. But Al does look rough.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, he definitely does.
From trying to chase that kid around. Oh. Come here, you little bastard.
Could you see him trying to like? Oh my God! Like how
I can only like fathom and then imagine. Why are we watching the Teletubbies? I don't get this shit about Tinky Winky.
Like in the interview.
Oh, Poe.
In the clip when he was talking about how his daughter said something about Shrek and he has the Shrek phone.
I love that. I thought it was so sweet.
Yeah. That was, I mean, but like we're talking about Al Pacino from The Godfather and he's talking about Shrek and I'm like, oh my God, this is
but that was 50 years ago, Al Pacino. This is now, you know, Al Pacino where it's kind of once again, like as they get younger, you know, they're gonna fall off, and it's not, and it's just once again, it's the unfortunate passing of time. But I'm also very much it's like, well, you know, like I said, I hope he keeps going. It's just going to be a question of like how long that's going to be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's Barney. Did you see this guy? That's a purple dinosaur. Playing with kids. If he was in Jurassic Park, they would have shower raped him and stabbed him. I hate you. Come suck me. I'm gonna finger Barney.
I love it. You're gonna make me clip it because
where the Francis Ford Coppola, fuck your mama too. Al Pacino came in you. It's always, you know, and I can't help but to have the mind go there with some of this stuff. So let me get back to Folie a Deux but I do have the new impression I'm working on.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering about that.
All right, well, I can whip that out real quick because we always go off topic. It's part of our charm.
Yes, it's so good. That Al Pacino though, holy shit, I love that. You that just gets me. You can't stop that. I love that. Oh God, I want to make a movie where you just voice Al Pacino for the entire thing and have like a CG it or something.
I could just see him singing along with the kid too. On the magic school bus. They got a magic school bus for me. They're going to take me to a nursing home. The only thing she's going to be nursing is this dick. Hey, you know what? Now that we know that Al still got it below the waist, maybe he could do porn. We'll make one called Stick It Where It Doesn't Belong, Part 6. Pacino and Reno. And I don't mean the city of Reno. I mean Reno picked up in Jacksonville. I couldn't even hold that.
But
Pacino and Reno.
Look at, but it's just sad. If you look at like Serpico and Michael Corleone and Al Pacino now, it's just sad. It's sad. I mean, it's good that he's still alive and he's still going, but it's just sad, because it's like the glory days are behind him, and it's
he started really changing gears.
Mm-hmm.
He started really changing gears in God damn it, Scent of a Woman, which is what he won his Oscar for.
Mm-hmm.
And then even more so in Heat.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Especially, what was that one where they interrogate the guy and he was like, she's married. And he's like, oh man, why the hell did I get involved her? And he goes, because she got a great ass and you got your head all the way up it. Ferocious eye. The thing I love most about a great ass is I can't seem to take my eyes off it. And I want a piece of it. He started going. So Scent of a Woman was one thing, but another one where he started going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs was Dick Tracy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about fucking Dick Tracy, but that's right.
I enjoy it. I actually own it. I love that movie. It's still a good time. I love the musical numbers. And I love that. So Beatty actually tried to find actors to really fit the square jaw thing. And then he decided to do it, but then literally was like, they tried all these types of prosthetics that just didn't work, even though they have some amazing makeup that holds up now from that movie.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he just was like, I'll do it. But in the case of Pacino, everything Lips owns, I own. Everything that was his belongs to me. Come on. Don't forget to close up that trap door.
Oh, I gotta watch that again.
Pacino and Reno. But now I gotta watch Heat again. Why did I get involved with that chick? Because she got a great ass! And you got your head all the way up it! Ferocious, aren't I? Let me tell you something about a great ass. Oh, it's the same thing with Devil's Advocate. There's this chicken that fights. He never loses.
Here's something that's funny. Guess what? I've never seen Devil's Advocate. I've never watched it.
Okay, we got to get one movie out of the way and then go to, Just on the Pacino factor alone, I think you would like it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's another one that I always wanted to watch. I just haven't yet. There's a lot of movies that I wanted to watch that I just haven't yet, and that's one of them. So I'll have to definitely watch that.
Are we negotiating? Ha ha! Always. Oh, that's a great one. Okay, so impression, or should I go back to Folie a Deux because we've strayed?
I don't know.
All right, I'll get the impression thing out of the way, and then we can get back on track.
Okay, yeah, do the impression because I need it.
So I was watching a clip from SNL and it clicked. I was like, oh my God, that was funny. And
Okay.
as far as this individual, you know, I like some of his stuff, but he's never really done it for me because I don't think the man.
Mhm.
I think his version of acting is like not
Right.
all that in a bag of chips. He has made some things I was like, okay, that works. That flies. There's two particular movies of him that I really enjoy
Mhm.
that are kind of ridiculous. One is The Departed, and then the second is Pain and Gain. So the impression I'm working on next to crack you up is Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And this one, like, you just my throat's a little scratchy, so hopefully I can nail it. But one thing I notice about him is like even in a scene when he's sitting down, he's always out of breath.
Yeah.
He always sounds like he's out of breath. And then everything feels like a hand gesture, even if he's not moving his hands. So everything's like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm Mark Wahlberg, right? Hey, what do we have here? Look, it's baby chicken, all right? How you doing, chicken? You can be a chicken all you want. You don't have to go to KFC, all right? Nice to meet you, chicken.
I love it. How do you do that? How do you do it?
All right, what do we have here? It's a dead prostitute. I'd say hi, but you can't say hi back, can you? Always sounds like he's out of breath.
Yeah.
Always sound like he had to run back into the fucking grocery store for something. Hey, Whole Foods, how you doing? Where do you keep your almond milk? Did you milk those almonds today? Huh?
I can't breathe.
Hey, what is this? Look, it's OneStream. It's a piece of shit. Hey, OneStream, did you know you're a piece of shit? All right. Nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm fucking clipping
And my
that one.
voice is burned out at the moment, so the fact I can pull anything off is impressive.
Just, yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
Al Pacino.
yeah.
Hey, good looking out. I see you fucking that young woman. All right. That's good for you, man.
Oh, shit. You know, the best thing, and I know you probably can't do it tonight because your voice is shot, but if we could get Al Pacino and Mark Wahlberg going back and forth,
Oh my God.
Christopher Walken, that would be fun. That would be amazing.
I don't know if I could do all three. I could probably pull off two. I could probably pull off Al and Mark at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, that would be hilarious.
Christopher Walken takes, like, it's so funny how it's rhythmic, but it's not rhythmic, you know, because a lot of his stuff is, wow, here is your coffee. Look out, it's hot. So, I run the universe. And there's this place, everybody likes it, called Dune. Paula Treatise. You should marry my daughter. Look at her, she's hot.
Every time you do that, it's so funny. I can't stand it.
I always wanted to hear him rap. That was my biggie. All right, stop. Collaborate. And listen. Ice is back. Brand new rendition. Something. Ooh. Grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon. Daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Ah. I don't know. To the extreme. Rock a mic like a vandal. Light up a stage. Like a chump. Like a candle. Oh.
Oh my my God, I don't know how the hell you do it, but you do it, and it's just it's perfection. I just really, holy shit. Whew.
Look
I'm
here. It's nest. It's a baby dodo. It was a bird. Wasn't supposed to be here in our timeline. Maybe it's something from MCU. Oh no. How about a soy milk? I had no intention of leaving the house today. But apparently going to Trader Joe's, my future. That's what I love. Like we see them on the screen, but like as people, you know, like just normal day-to-day type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, I have a coupon to get this guacamole on sale. I shouldn't have to pay full price for guacamole. No one should.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
The Wahlberg one, and it's always a joke I've made because, like, you know, a lot of these actors, like, there's acting. It's not easy, but let's be clear. Like, there are some, it's literally just that's them. Like, it's not even like a craft. And not to say they don't work hard, but just the ideal of, you know, Mark Wahlberg being Mark Wahlberg in every movie.
Right.
You know, like, especially Transformers 4. Like, I've never gotten through it, and I've never tried 5 because he's in it. But Transformers 4, oh my God. Yeah. Just somebody who looks like Mark Wahlberg. Hey, I'm an inventor, all right? I read that in the script. Okay. I don't know what they do, but I do that. All right, thanks.
I don't know how the hell you do this, but it's perfect. It really is perfect. It really it's just it's so perfect.
Look what I've seen here. Stripper. She's got cocaine on her ass. I should snort it. Maybe, just maybe, it's Splenda. I'll take my chances. Okay. See, I'm working on it. My like I said, my throat's a little at the moment, but give it a shot.
I mean, the way that I see it, you smashed it, man. You did great.
Yeah. Just be out of breath and talk with your hands even when you're not using your hands. Or even when you don't need to. Just, hey, look, they put me in Jurassic Park and made me a dinosaur. I don't know why, but here I am. Rawr.
the fucking rawr did it. Fucking rawr.
I'm a dinosaur. Yeah. I don't know what kind I am because I can't pronounce it. Rawr. This is that point in the show, folks. Oh
my God.
The other one I've worked on for a minute, I don't know if I can ever get, is Liam Neeson.
Oh God. I'm gonna die.
Hey, Liam, what do you like for breakfast? I like bananas. Bananas. Only bananas. Yeah, that one's taking a little work. I'm not. That's taking a minute.
It's coming along nicely. It's coming along nicely. But that Wahlberg, holy shit. Whew.
And it's crazy because he's never really tried an accent except The one where he kind of nailed it was, and I mean it's close to home, but he in The Departed, and he was actually fantastic in The Departed. Oh, I'm sorry, The Departed. The Departed. Did you see The Departed?
That's yet another one that I've wanted to watch, but I never have.
You've never seen The Departed?
Not as of yet, no.
You should watch The Departed, all right? It's a good movie. Yeah, I'm actually good in it. I'm not a dinosaur. Rawr. All right. Before Mike passes out, so I think we're close. All right, let's double back to Folie a Deux.
Just a rare.
It's just, and like I said, like I don't really have anything against him as an actor, but I don't have a lot for him, and like his heyday and his kind of resurgence was kind of weird because it was like he's not really giving you anything for it. Like, now I will say the other movie of his I really enjoy is Pain and Gain, because that movie is so fucked up.
Is it?
Oh, it is. You haven't seen that either.
No, haven't.
Yes, motherfucker. No, that one was hilarious because I was married at the time. And we watched it, I think it was on a Sunday. Kids went and did their thing. Me and the wife went and grabbed some lunch and then watched the movie, if memory serves. And, you know, she didn't know that it was going to be kind of this bizarre dark comedy. And it was going to be through a Michael Bay type of lens or filter, if you will. And there was a decent turnout from what I remember. It wasn't a ton of people. I kid you not. There was a few chuckles here and there from people around us, but because a lot of the subject matter, people aren't laughing like crazy out loud, except two people, me and her. And there are some scenes we are gasping for breath. And I know there were people in that theater like, fuck is wrong with these assholes?
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have no doubt that there was a lot of that where they just saw us and was like, you motherfuckers. And it's like, yep, us motherfuckers right here. So I'll work on the Mark Wahlberg. I think I got it pretty good.
Yeah, no, you definitely do.
It's just so weird how he's always out of breath. Like, do you run everywhere? It's like, you're worth $200 million, dude. Like, you produced Entourage of all fucking things.
Oh, yeah, so, he's another one that probably doesn't need the money at this point.
Well, no, and he's starting to kind of turn the round of making movies outside the Hollywood system. And it's like, okay. Like, he's at a point in his career, and probably, at least for me, my optics of it, probably has something to do with the fact that I never really clued into him.
Right.
In the sense of, like, being that type of a fan or what have you. So it doesn't register for me. But I'll see movies that he's in, and I'm like, oh, he's in that? Like Daddy's Home and some of these comedies, I'm like, oh, he's in that? Oh, yeah, that's right. Like, some of the stuff I probably haven't even watched or tried to watch because just to me, a lot of his stuff feels kind of distancing. And like I said, like, and not to say the man don't work hard, but range as far as like an actual actor or thespian, it's not there. I mean, the guy used to drop underwear for a living, or drop his pants for a living.
Yeah.
But it's made him successful. And, you know, I don't love Entourage. I like it. I know people who adore Entourage. I am not one of them. I like it. When I watched it the first time around, I enjoyed it. It wasn't like something I was like, And Entourage is one of those series. I think it had like 7 seasons, and I'm like, really? Like that shit went that long, but it did. And then they even made a movie for it for some reason.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah.
But
I saw like bits and pieces, but doesn't do anything for me. Not to mention, I think the Entourage movie just came too late. Like it was, Entourage felt like really of its time kind of show. So when it was done, it was done. That was it. And then you have the movie, and it's like, oh, these people are doing the same fucking thing. Like the shit that was on the little screen is now on the big screen. And yeah, you have a certain expectations, but I always felt that it was more of a cult movie. I didn't realize that it had the kind of viewership to sustain as like a cinematic experience or like a movie experience. Like I said, I've seen bits and pieces. Never really did it for me. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's a decent watch, but not something where I'm gonna drop everything and go, ooh. Yeah, that's one of those. It's like, yeah, that's not happening. So back to kind of looking at things that go in the direction you don't expect, careers, whatever. But with Folie a Deux, that is. So we got the first one out of the way, and talk about a singular experience, which it was intended to be. But of course, you make $1 billion on a movie out of a $60 million budget. Like, I think they were comfortable with it being successful. I don't think they were expecting over 300 million domestic and, over $1 billion worldwide. I know I didn't, but I didn't hate the ideal either. I was like, oh, okay, it kind of deserves that.
Right.
And so, gang here wanted to see it. I'm like, okay. And I was cautious the whole time before as entering the theater. A lot of that has to do with the fact that, one, hearing what I heard, and for me, like, obviously I got to see it to know for sure. But hearing what I heard wasn't exactly doing it for me.
Same here.
And took my son with us, and that's funny because he watched the first one. He loves the first one. And it's not that he has anything against musicals, but like for him, musicals got to be a super specific taste. Well, they had hinted to musicals. And oh boy, what we got.
Oh, did we? Yes.
So the movie kicks off with him, Arthur Fleck, in still in the pokey. He's been arrested for about 2 years. And he's finally going to trial. There's the wheels of justice sometimes move very slow. And his case is no different. And of course, he's kind of become a celebrity in the process. And right off the jump, he's medicated, number one. And number two, he's bullied by these 3 guards. And right off the bat, I felt like there was something reeking in Denmark. And the reason why is because, the first movie is about metamorphosis, is about change and almost survival through said change, where it's like, well, he was this. Well, now he's this. And he needed to be this to survive. That's where he needed to be. That's what mattered.
Right.
And then this, you've kind of neutered him all over again, but even more so, you put him in prison. And the movie only really exists in Arkham and the courtroom. So for a character that you painstakingly did so much work on to show this trajectory, and even with him being a bad guy, you're kind of behind him. You're not necessarily rooting for him, but you get it. And because you're watching, this one-shot type of origin movie, in the first one, you have to go along with it. And I mean that in a good way, not, oh, well, if you don't like it, tough. This movie feels more like tough. This movie feels more like we're actually showing that breakdown and kind of taking it all away in the end, in such a way to where you not only shit on the first movie, you almost invalidate it.
Wow.
Because, and I'll get to the musical stuff in a minute, but as far as the spoilers, the ending. So, Harley doesn't want him anymore. We'll get to that too. But Harley doesn't want him anymore. He's admitted to murders and stuff like that. And the guards have just been terrible. Like the guards take him to the showers, and I don't have to get into that, but you get the point. You know what they did and how fucking wrong it is.
Right.
And there's no comeuppance for anything, even after the first movie literally being like, this is what the world caused. And I'm not the good guy, but as far as the first movie is, like, I got pushed into this, and now I'm heard, and now I'm seen, and what that means. Well, this movie completely unravels all that to the point where Arthur gets shanked about 10 or 12 times in the gut.
Right.
And he falls and he bleeds. And the guy who shanks him actually takes his shank and cuts his Joker smile into his face. And it's a one shot that pans into Arthur dying as they play That's Life from Sinatra. And then cut to credits. So he was never the Joker. He was never supposed to be the Joker. He was only supposed to kind of inspire somebody. And I get, like, you're trying to show, like, the unpleasant side of the social as well as societal side of letting a person down. But one, we already saw that in the first movie. And we didn't spend an entire movie doing that. And two, it kind of shits away all that was built up in the first one. That might have some expectation with this second movie. And I get that it's about expectations. And for me, I know I wanted to see that move forward. It was very much a case of I didn't need a second movie, but it's like, okay, you're making a second movie. Now what does he do? Like, he's invested himself into who he's become. Because this is all he has left now. This is what he's been pushed towards. And he can't do anything else, and nor would he. But now it turns into a case of, well, maybe he doesn't do that. And it's like, no, he needs to do that. And if he doesn't do that, then what's the point of this movie, let alone any of this? And that's the big beef with a lot of it. And of course, there's the musical numbers. So I was okay with a couple musical numbers because, as we saw in the first one, he dances like all this. So much of it is in his head, being an inaccurate storyteller that's done in his head. And some of the stuff, obviously, you don't know for sure.
Right.
But because they were able to play with that the way they did, they had a lot of scenes of following someone down the hall and then all of a sudden singing. And the weird thing is we're not even talking about original numbers. Like they'll be humming something and then start singing it. And then when Arthur is in like solitary confinement, he has some of those musical numbers in his head. Now, that I was okay with. That's where, of course, Lady Gaga shines. And even Joaquin Phoenix is amazing. Like, they're both fantastic. Brendan Gleeson is in it, who I enjoy, and he's always great. Catherine Keener is in it, who they never really publicize her being in it.
Yeah, I didn't know she was in it until you just...
When she showed up, I was like, why are you not doing more with this? Like, and there's a lot of wasted opportunities. And the music thing, like so much of that being in his head, I didn't need to see it firsthand. I know that he hears this stuff and it's kind of in his head and as well as his makeup, but I didn't need to see it. I didn't need to see people just burst in a song. Like it was like fucking cop rock. Like just all of a sudden they're just going to start singing. And once again, like these aren't even original songs.
Right.
If they were original songs, I could see that. But a lot of it isn't. And it's a wasted opportunity. It feels like a studio strung up type of project to where, oh, you made $1 billion? Okay, well, we want another one. And we know money got a money and corporation got a corporation. But the frustration is that, the whole point of the first one was it was meant to be a one-shot. It was kind of meant to be like an Elseworlds and kind of play with those ideals. Because after that movie hit, there was talk about trying to do like a Lex Luthor that was similar. And I'm like, fuck yeah, do that. Like I could get behind that. But I also know just the ideal of, insincere sequels. And they're nothing new. And, a lot of people end up lining up with a paycheck. And another issue is like, we're talking about what they claim is a $200 million movie. And I'm like, where? It's a prison movie and a courtroom movie. Like, you're not doing a lot of scenery. You're not doing a lot in the outside world. They really don't. There's really only one laugh that I enjoyed. But other than that, you could pass. It's whatever they were shooting for, and I guess that's the best way to kind of summarize it. The first movie, I know what they were shooting for, even with what I was surprised with, and even with what wasn't genuine from Arthur's perspective. I know where they were going, and I know why. This movie, there's none of that. There's a lot of, even outside of the musical stuff, there's a lot of, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing?
See, and that's what I don't understand. Like, Todd Phillips is better than that. So I don't understand, like, why it even happened, because it seems like it's 2.5 hours long, or 2 hours and 25 minutes or something like that.
2 hours and 18 minutes long.
Yeah, and it just seems like a big waste of time.
Well, and it sucks because even with movies, see, for me, this movie isn't out and out bad. It's more frustrating. Because even I know what was possible.
Right.
But the cinematography is fantastic. The both leads, Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, are phenomenal. He slips back into Arthur with ease. It's like the character never left, or never left him. So there's a lot in it, even in its kind of nonsensicalness. There are some things that is actually very good, very well done, and impressive. And it's things It's things that made the first one, get to the point that it did. This one, the beef as a whole is the script. The script honestly just doesn't make sense, especially with, you claim it's a continuation, but you literally reverse the character. Like by the time he gets shanked and essentially dies, you're like, well, what was the fucking point? Like you literally could have cut out him becoming Joker. He could have murdered somebody, not even have been Jokered, murdered 5-6 people, and then turned around from there, and then that would have been that.
Right.
Like there's so much that doesn't need to exist in the second movie.
Yeah, that's just.
It's worth a view one time if you need to get it out of your system. It doesn't hold anything out and out value wise to the first movie. Like I said, there's some things they got right that are enjoyable, but they don't outweigh the overall shittiness of the whole thing. Yeah.
It's just a shame that they didn't just do something that, like, what would even possess them to do? And I'm fine. Musicals aren't my favorite genre, but I'd be more accepting of this if it was original music.
Yes. There's not a lot of that. It's all essentially covers.
Yeah, it's stupid. That's just pointless.
There's just a lot of it that just doesn't make, like I said, a lot of it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
It just doesn't. It's just weird because once again, like you could have changed it to like Biloxi, Mississippi instead of Gotham City, and nobody would have really known the difference. Anything that was, I mean, and I understand that New York was essentially supposed to be doubling. But I also know that, like, okay, if you're not going to give me anything that remotely connects to Gotham City, then what's the fucking point? So,
right.
Yeah, it's certainly a missed opportunity. It's frustrating. My son kept rolling his eyes. He was like, "They're fucking singing again." I'm like, "Yeah, they're singing again, buddy."
Yep. Oh, well, and see, I would even say they could have done. It just could have been.
It is a very
so
missed
much better,
opportunity.
so much different.
You almost feel bad, almost, because in seeing the missed opportunity, you can't help but to go, God, you could have got there. And the crazy thing about it too, I kid you not, is the ideal that, for some people, they enjoyed it. For some people, this felt like the right, second piece to the first one. And obviously there are some people who make the case. It's like, oh, well, you don't like it. That's on you. Like, this is what they did. Well, yeah, of course. But when you put something in front of people to where you cannot help but to go, okay, this is what we did, and then turn around and it all ends up being public choice because, hey, guess what? It's all about money. I don't think anybody thought that $1 billion was what was going to happen. I think Warner Brothers thought they were going to be good, but as far as like making that, oh hell no, they were like, yeah, wait, it's one of those that's like, wait, we did that, we did that.
Yeah, but it's like, there also needs to come a point where it's like, it's okay to say we did that, but leave well enough alone and move on to the next thing.
And it's agreed. Well, and the sad part is the ideal of turning down that kind of money is just not. It's not easy because and some people might look at like Joaquin Phoenix and they're like, well, he's, an auteur of an actor and blah, 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 blah. But let's be clear. And this is not knocking him, but he's like anybody else. Like, obviously we know what money can do for people and to people. And that's just what it is. So he made $4.5 million for the first movie. Okay. He made $20 million. He made $20 million for this sequel.
Okay, now that. I mean, he got that money, so of course, it's haha, I got it. But shame on shame on me or shame on you because I still got the money, and
Mm-hmm. Well, and Lady Gaga got $12 million. Like, knowing and Todd Phillips probably got some kind of deal that Warner Brothers may not hold up because the movie didn't do too well.
Yeah.
But Todd Phillips has made billions for Warner Brothers. So for me, it's kind of crazy to think like, so many people, of course, are like, well, you don't have to do it. Why'd you do it? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you don't understand. It is not that easy to say no, especially under those circumstances. Because, if the studio, it's kind of like the Matrix Resurrections, where if the studio is going to make a sequel, they're going to do it one way or another, whether you like it or not. And in the case of Resurrections, that movie is almost spiteful. Like, that movie almost hates its own creation because it is literally a case of, well, shit. They're gonna make a movie. They're gonna make another one, whether we like it or not. Okay, so what do we do? Well, just let them make whatever. And there's so much of it that gets turned on its head, especially when it's like, no, he's actually not in the Matrix. He was never in the Matrix. Oh wait, but he was. Especially when, one of the dynamics of that movie and that was so standout, the two things that come to mind, among so many other things, even for those who didn't like 2 and 3, I really like 2. 3 is fine. 3 closes the loop. That's the best way to put it. 3 closes the loop. 3 ends what began, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But I also know with that 4th movie, you had a great soundtrack in the first 3 movies, and they were a product of their time, but the music was phenomenal. Like, you had EDM at its highest point. You had like Oakenfold and Propellerheads and so many great acts. And then you had the 4th one, which know nothing of the music, nor do I care. And literally, the 4th movie has like almost no kung fu.
Ooh,
He literally, there's no kung fu. He does this force push for everything. And Trinity does too. Like, that 4th one is just, it's almost like a hate letter. Like, how dare I make something that made me millions of dollars and gave me a career, and let me make a piece of shit like Jupiter Ascending.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that?
Jupiter Ascending, no, but Cloud Atlas I loved. But Jupiter
I
Ascending,
love Cloud Atlas. Yeah, I love Cloud Atlas. Jupiter Ascending it's different. And I'm not sure why, but I can't remember if it was a week or a week and a half before it released in the theaters. Warner Brothers and the Wachowskis actually premiered it here at Sundance in Utah. And it was like, because I think the movie ended up cost like 180 million. Oh my God. People were like people walked out. They were like, what the fuck is this? What are you guys doing? Like, did they really give you that much money and too much freedom? And I mean, we know that happens a lot with movies, but yeah, Jupiter's Ascending is like just fucking bananas. It is one of the weirdest, and even by the measure of science fiction, it is a weird fucking movie.
Yeah, and I mean that's like, it just seemed. It's like it was one. I mean, I own it because I collect a lot of shit, but I've never watched it. I've heard that it wasn't all great, so it's kind of like scared me away from it. I don't know if it's worth checking out or whatever. Like, we're, you know.
It's a very bizarre episode, a very long episode of like Flash Gordon.
Oh,
That's kind of what it reminded me of. I mean, visually, it's very pretty.
right.
I like some of the notions it plays with. But it's a cross between, I guess, my best way to look at it. It's a cross between Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Flash Gordon.
Right.
Like, some of the stuff is bizarre to the point of like, wait, what? Some of it works. A chunk of it does not, in my opinion. But you know, the Wachowskis, I'm actually one of the few people who like the Speed Racer movie they did. I think it's me and like 12 people in the world who probably like that movie.
I've never seen Speed Racer either, so I can't. Again, another one that yet I own it, but I have never seen it. Which there's, like I said, there's a lot of those. A lot.
There's a few.
Yeah, I'm trying to remedy that now, but we'll see how that
That
goes.
takes time. Well, one thing you can definitely take off your list is Joker Folie a Deux.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm never going to watch that. I don't. I love that first film, and I do not want to tarnish it with that.
It's just a movie that doesn't need to have anything else going on with it. It just, I mean, the first movie stands on its own so well. It just, yeah, don't need any more than that. Like, I mean, I like the fact that there's very little that was committal to the first movie. So I think I can still separate the two rather easily because, like I said, I have zero need for the other movie. It's just, it's a nice try. I just don't know what they were going for. I feel like the filmmakers sure as shit don't know.
And I heard like a few people I saw on social media were saying about, wonder what they would do for a Joker 3. And I heard about the ending. You know, I read about that online, and I was like, how in the hell are they even there? There's no way. It seems like at least they end this definitively enough to say, okay, that's it, we're done.
Never gonna happen. I I can't see a reason for it needing to be a thing. I mean, that's the short answer. I see no reason for it being a thing.
And I think Warner Brothers probably is going to lose out with that, with Folie a Deux. I think yeah. I think they're gonna lose out money wise. Like,
oh, they're set to lose about $150 million.
that's insane. Why would they even?
They had because they like. I mean, let's look at it this way. Hollywood likes its trends, and the funny thing is that studios don't like taking certain risks, but if a risk pays off, then they're the smartest guys in the room. Speaking of like the Wachowskis, look at the first Matrix. Warner Brothers bought it because they didn't want anybody else to get their hands on it, but they weren't exactly sure what they had their hands on. And they were going to give it to other filmmakers. And they were like, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. And the Wachowskis held out and pushed. They made Bound that helped kind of, show what they were capable of behind the camera. But you are talking about like, easily a $75 million to $100 million second movie for, two filmmakers. And it is insane to think what a gamble it was that, Warner Brothers was just bracing for impact. And that movie did so well. And, it for like, 5-10 years after, everybody was trying to make a version of it. Everybody was attempting to, hey, let's do this, bullet time and techno and leather coats with sunglasses and kung fu. Like when Hollywood sees a trend, it can't get enough of it. It's like a dog with a bone, it just won't let go. And the Matrix even now has a firm hand on changing cinema, and it's been 25 fucking years. Can you believe that shit?
I know.
Here's another one that's going to bake your noodles. Speaking of Matrix, because I used that line from the Oracle. It's this week, and I might actually go see it in the theater on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Saw is 20 years old.
Yeah, I know that.
Talk about the franchise that won't fucking quit, man.
I know, which I'm surprised that they're not back on the every year, train with these again. But it seems like they skipped this Halloween, and I think the next one's coming out Halloween 2025 or October 2025 or something like that.
Yep. I think if they could get away with it, but you also got to remember that span of time where between, what was it, Saws 2 to 5, give or take, those were opening to like $35 million openings.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a $10 million budget. Definitely more as far as like marketing, but even then you weren't stretching as much as the marketing, and you had a massive hit. Like overseas, even they were hitting like big money. Yeah. And even with them not necessarily doing the type of business they used to, like many horror genres, it's like you keep them inexpensive, they're still profitable.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Movies just don't do that anymore. You know what I mean?
No. Well, streaming has a hand in it too, but I think, I mean, I can't think of too many franchises that have literally started in the last 10 years that still hold, even in that short amount of time. John Wick is one of the few I can think of. And even that is showing signs of wearing down because, you know, Keanu Reeves can't be 75 years old in a wheelchair, like trying to whoop someone's ass.
But they are doing a fifth one, right?
So they're supposed to be doing a fifth one, which is not a surprise. They have that spin-off TV show, The Continental, which I think was a missed opportunity. I think they should have treated it like an anthology series about stuff that happens around the Continental, because you can expand past certain characters if you build the world. And there was a time with the John Wick movies, they were working at that. By the fourth movie, as much as I love the fourth movie, and obviously it's super long, and oh my God, it took him like a fucking half an hour to get up the goddamn stairs at the end of the fucking movie. They started doing a lot of contradictory things. Like the high table, and then wait, you have this other group that are like the mainstays of like the assassin world, and they're like hierarchy, but they're not like part of the actual political system, which would technically be the high table. So
right,
the third and fourth movie especially have a lot of, you know, it almost turns a little fetch quest where it's like, well, now you got to go here, now you got to go there, now you got to go here, and it's like, okay, I get that you want to expand the world. Now you're showing me other places, but you're not telling me the inner workings. You kind of stopped doing that in the first two movies. And think about like the first movie where it was all like, I got more out of how that world probably works out of John, you know, killing fuckers in New York, you know, during, you know, just him going after those bastards for what he did to the dog in the car.
Yeah. Now, see, here's something for you. Now, I love John Wick. I love it. As of right now, though, I've only seen the first two.
3 and 4, and I hate to almost say it this way,
and I will. I just haven't yet.
3 and 4 are really good.
Yes.
I love. I love the whole series. The trick with 3 and 4 is that they almost feel like 3 almost feels, or I should say 4 feels like a remake of 3. Because you still have a lot of, okay, he's getting out of this. Because 4 does something the third movie really doesn't, which they kind of approach the ideal of how this is all going to end. You know, because he has to go here, and then he has to go here, and he got to talk to that person. And it gets very fetch questy. In the case of the second movie, you still have like a mission. You know, he's got to go kill that one guy's sister and then kind of pay the price for it. And then he kind of does something, you know, shooting that guy in the Continental that, you know, sets the third and fourth movie going. But the issue is with 3 and 4, you know, he's trying his best to like get this to stop, but it keeps going. Like I said, we get to kind of this fetch quest kind of territory of now he's here, now he's going there, now he's going to do this. So where does that all end? And the fourth movie finally gets to that point where it's like, how does this end? So 3 and 4 is great. I actually like 4 more than I like 3. But when you look at the first movie being an hour and 40 minutes, and then the fourth movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
They're starting to spread themselves very thin. And and once again, it's not a matter of there isn't stuff there. It's just like you're not developing it.
Do you think they'd be better served like keeping them all like between 145 and 2 hours max.
3 and 4 have a lot of dead air, and a lot of it is him going in and talking to somebody. You can cut some of that stuff down. I know one thing that Chad Stahelski, the director, has run into is when you work so hard at something and you have such a good crew and you film great stuff, it's very hard to want to trim it down.
Right.
And he ran into that a lot, apparently, to where the ideal of him trying to, trim these movies down just doesn't connect.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not there. So it would be better served if they did do that. But part of the issue is that in 1 and 2, the goals are clear, very clear.
Right. Mm-hmm.
3 and 4 doesn't have the same what's the word? Doesn't seem to have the same kind of resonance as far as like, well, what's he doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole thing with him trying to get out of the mess he's in has really been stretched out. Like, you got to go talk to this person, and now you got to go find that guy, and yada yada yada. And it's like, yeah, we get that. We're at the point of those travels, but some of the stuff is like, okay, why? Like 4 has a lot of that. Go see this person, go see that person, go see this person, and it's like, you kind of know where it's going to all end up.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, it's like, you almost have a bit of, can we fucking get to it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty, they're so good. And there's so much of it that's just done well where, yeah, you don't want to trim a lot of stuff off, but holy shit, they don't need to be 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's still John dealing with the consequences of technically what he did in the first movie. So,
Mm-hmm.
No, they're great. They are long, and they've got so much going for them, and in some cases, too much going for them.
Right.
So,
well, maybe they'll learn, and then the 5th one they'll trim it a little bit. But who knows?
If they make a 5th one with Keanu, it needs to be it. And part of that just comes to the fact it's like, how long do you expect him to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Keanu is 60 and he's still got it. And then some. Like he's still got it. He is still that dude. However,
oh, yeah.
60.
Yeah, that's
right up there with that running lunatic who's 62, Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right there.
That motherfucker who needs to jump off of everything. Why don't you jump off of your high chair, you fucking midget prick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Tom Cruise. Could you stop that? You don't have to jump off of everything, okay? Good to meet you.
There we go.
Rawr.
There we go. Oh my God! You fucking did it!
Yeah.
It's just the way it just goes. It's just like rare.
And it is so weird because once again, it's that fucking breathing shit.
It's just, Oh God, you know. Oh shit. Oh, that's. And then you talked about Nicolas Cage, and I did watch Longlegs the other day too.
How'd you like
Yeah,
it?
that was probably. I mean, Nicolas Cage is. I. He's insane.
Yeah, that's the
Like he's
thing, dude.
literally insane.
Yeah, we all know that. Hey, believe you me, he knows that most of all. I have to believe he does.
Oh, but like when he was in there and he was just whamming his fucking head on the. I'm like, are you like holy shit?
That wasn't even like a direction. That was probably like Tuesday. Like he was just,
Yeah.
they just followed him around with a camera. Okay.
Oh, that was so. I really enjoyed that one though. I did.
Definitely not. I mean, I know a lot of people had that kind of, it's, kind of a take on Silence of the Lambs. And it's like, yeah, in its own right, but not in its entirety. Like I really enjoyed it, probably more than I expected.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I could see a little bit of the Silence of the Lambs thing, but I
Yeah.
didn't see it like it didn't seem like as much as it was being like that was the only thing that it was being touted as, and I thought that it was so much more than just that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it had a lot going on. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And just the ideal that it was just that. It's like, no, it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, pièce de résistance.
Yes.
And I'm excited for this on so many levels. Like, obviously, this episode's got pushed back a couple times, but this is our detour from horror. And for me, and obviously we'll get into it, but this is a movie that, as much as I obviously love, I'm so thrilled for this. As much as this movie is pretty bananas. Like I know people who don't like this movie because they see it too much as like a message, and I'm like, no, that's not what this is supposed to be at all.
No.
Like not even close. Like if that's what you got out of this movie, you're really missing the boat. And yes, Wolf of Wall Street, which we're going to get into, it's the center of all this shenanigans, this episode, was actually brought up from like a couple episodes where we talked about, I mentioned it and you were like, you never saw it. And I'm like, yeah, I did one of those clutch my anal beads where I was like, what do you mean you haven't seen it? Treated you like a leper. Who are you? I don't even know you. No, it's not that at all. Obviously. But it's one of those things where, when you get to introduce a movie to somebody and you kind of have that look, it is, for me, it's pretty satisfying. I'll have to say, I could not be happier to show this to you and put it on your radar, because if I have it right, and I like to think I do, you fucking loved it.
Oh, I'll be honest with you. I intend on watching it many more times because it's weird because even as I watched it today, and the other time that I watched it was, a couple of weeks ago when we were originally going to do the episode. And it's like, even watching it today, I was like, I wasn't like, it just flowed for me. Like I wasn't bored at all. And I'll tell you what, for the entire 2 hours and 59 minutes, I did not pick up my phone once, either time.
See, I love how you knew that. Like 2 hours and 59 minutes. I love that.
2 hours and 59 minutes. Yep. And I did not pick up the phone once. I was in. I was like on it. I was like, this is it.
That movie. So for those who may not have watched it, who may not have seen it, God, who are you? No, I actually hate to say it that way, but
well, please watch it and then come back to the like 2 hour and 40 minute mark, and you can get what we're talking about. But yes,
it is. So for those who don't know, it's a Martin Scorsese movie. What is it? 2013.
yes,
So 2013. Martin Scorsese. It's a movie he did with Leonardo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill, John Bernthal. John Favreau was in it. So is Rob Reiner. Now, here's somebody who's in it who I don't know if you knew was in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, remember the scene where he goes to Investa Center?
Right.
So the guy he talks to is Spike Jonze.
Oh shit! Really?
Uh-huh. Even I had a what? Wait, who? What?
Dude, that guy really can fucking change. He's like, what the?
Yeah. Even I had a moment. I was like, wait, not him. And it's like, yeah, him. He's right fucking there, dude. Like, oh shit.
Wow. Didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah.
Damn.
He is there plain as day. And it's one of those movies where, so basically follows the life of Jordan Belfort, who was a stock trader who pulled basically it was a scam. He learned that penny stocks get a higher percentage yield back to him. Now, most of these penny stocks are penny stocks for a reason. They're basically worthless. And the movie basically follows him kind of, and I mean the best way to put it, he's kind of running this grift of, you know, not being a very good person, number one. And that kind of goes without saying with the situation, because I've actually had people where they're like, oh, well, you know, how can you watch this? Like, this guy's a POS and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, we follow him through. Like, he builds this company. He did over $2 billion in trades. He had basically committed wire fraud, stock fraud. Believe it or not, he only went away for 3 years.
Yeah, that I'm surprised about, but you know.
Well, he had one of those. He got to make something of a deal, even though he fucked up. So he got to kind of get. He kind of got to get to a certain point where he was allowed to. He was allowed to kind of, and I hate to use the term "get away with it" because that's not right. That's not really what happened to him. Because he did go to jail. But a couple of things. So one, if you look him up now, he's still doing the same shit that he did. And a lot of what he's doing, oh yeah, well, a lot of what he's doing is with crypto, which is obviously kind of an untamed landscape at the moment.
Right.
And it is not something where repercussions are as concerning as one might hope. Because that's my big beef with that situation. It's like, yeah, you're still hosing people. So how do you get away with that? Because in my mind, it's like, nah, dude, that's not what's supposed to be happening here at all.
Right.
And I'm very much one of those people, like, I feel bad for so many people who got screwed and hosed by the whole situation. I really think, like, deep down, it's like, how How does somebody do that? And of course, he's not the first scammer on Wall Street, won't be the last. There's actually movies that are, there's other movies. There's one with Giovanni Ribisi and Vin Diesel called The Boiler Room, which is partially based on what Jordan Belfort did. And he basically built the company off of being able to take penny stocks and push them as like real stocks.
Right.
So, and you know, this is one of those movies that only Scorsese could do the way he did. Because first of all, you know, whether or not it's a portrayal, and we get it's based on something, so it's not frame for frame what happened in his life. You know, it's all kind of quantified.
Mm-hmm.
But it is such a fucking ride of a movie to kind of watch this guy, you know, soar and crash.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, like I fucking adore Scorsese when he's at crazy mode.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, first of all, one thing we got to definitely start with is if you're squeamish about nudity for some reason, this movie ain't for you.
Right.
Because you get woman nudity and you get man nudity. They're not.
Yes, you do.
They're not picky. And if you want to see Leonardo DiCaprio butt ass naked, like naked, oh, this is the movie.
Yeah.
I would say that there's a bit of drug use, but that would be a lie. I wouldn't be surprised if they were actually high making the fucking movie.
I mean, you would think that something had to be going on while they were making the thing.
The movie's just so relentless. Like, you know, we all know Taxi Driver Scorsese, After Hours Scorsese. And when he, you know, obviously also Casino and Goodfellas. But this is like a merge of all those two. Like you have polished Scorsese and you have holy fuck, what's happening, Scorsese. And this falls neatly in between the two. It's beautifully shot. It is once again one thing that's so great about it is it's what you expect from that kind of Scorsese. Like even Color of Money with Paul Newman, like it kind of falls into that. Because you watch this whole type of trajectory of him being like this young little, and it's kind of funny, like he was never innocent, like even in the beginning, but they corrupted him pretty quickly too.
Yeah.
From what they show. Because one thing that I love right away is that you see very easily like the addiction to money. Like any addiction is crippling. Any addiction can take you in a direction into someone you don't want to be and turns you very easily into how do I put it? I guess the best way to kind of encapsulate it is, so that beginning when he kind of, and also there's a lot of fourth wall breaks. There's a lot of, you know, changes in the storytelling very quickly. But there's a scene where he's snorting cocaine with $100 bill. And he talks about like the most addictive drug. And he's like, I'm not talking about the cocaine. It's like, I'm talking about, you know, money, as he throws that $100 bill in the trash. And I don't know if he actually threw money away, but it's crazy to think what he kind of says on top of that too, when he talks about like, you know, money makes you a better person. You know, money gets you better clothes, better food, better pussy, better drugs, and money has the power to do and change things. And it's absolutely right. And even just in those lines of dialogue, like the ideal of something being, perplexing, but also like, well, yeah, sooner or later we all think that way,
Right.
And I'm very much one of those types where it's like, yeah, I get the message, but it's also within a joke. Like there's some stuff in here that almost feels satirical, and a lot of that is because of the way it's told. And let's be honest, like it's a comedy, even with the shit you shouldn't be laughing at, kind of like,
yeah,
Pain and Gain,
Mm-hmm.
Get off the phone.
Yeah, that was
Brad, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
For those who have seen it, and that scene, I still crack up laughing. Like I watch this movie at least once a month or every 2 months. It still gets me. I still fucking laugh my ass off at this movie.
Yeah.
So hard. And it is very much one of those type of movies where it's like, holy shit, should I be laughing at this? Is this, especially the Jonah Hill scene where he's taking out his pecker and fucking whacking off to Margot Robbie. To be fair.
Yeah.
That's an appropriate reaction.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, that tracks.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised because I didn't realize that she ever did nudity in a film. And
I think this is her first time.
I'm pretty sure you're correct in that. And when I saw that, I was like, okay. Yeah, I'm on board.
I bet your palms got hairy just looking at it. You didn't even have to touch yourself. You were just like, holy shit.
Yeah, I'm like, am I seeing this correctly? Okay, rewind. Thank
you. Exactly. Hey, is this right? Let me check. Yeah. No, it was right. That woman is fine. I love in the Barbie movie when they make that joke where she's like, I don't feel pretty anymore. And they freeze frame it. And then Helen Mirren, who is the narrator, is like, a note to the producers about somebody not feeling pretty. Margot Robbie is the wrong person to make that point.
Yeah.
That's still one of the funniest bits in the whole movie. And then, you get to scenes where he's like making the infomercial and then they arrest him right there in the middle of filming it.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
Benny fucking Hanna. Yeah, it is so wild, and it's watching him turn into this kind of corrupt master of the universe. And I think what's so crazy about it is that, like so many people who are in power, of course, the last thing they ever want to see is it be lost from them or relinquished. And through it all, like at no point are you really rooting for them, nor should you be.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes to prison in the end and stuff, and there's just so many people who are like, well, it's a bad message. And it's like, well, yeah, obviously. But with that being a given, like the whole point is almost a satire of a life of drugs and greed and where that kind of sends you. Because the scene with the Quaaludes.
Oh, yeah.
Cerebral palsy phase.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna try something real quick because I haven't done it yet with this thing, but I'm gonna just try something real quick because I think. Let me see here. Shit. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
Keep talking because I'm gonna see if I can do this. This will be a good experiment.
Well, I love that they actually have a segment in the movie kind of dedicated to Quaaludes. That shit had me rolling because Quaaludes was literally one of those things that was a product of its time. And apparently they're still illegal. I've never taken them. I've never taken drugs in my I've taken a fucking fuck ton of drugs. It's very much like I said. I find it an interesting kind of bit thinking about the movie in the sense of because there's a couple of heartfelt moments where he was about to leave and then he doesn't. He talks about the coworker and stuff like that. Probably one of the best cameos in the history of film is Matthew McConaughey in the beginning, and he's not even in the movie 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you knew this. So the bit that he does the So in the movie, or when they were filming, he whipped that out of nowhere. And the scene where Leonardo DiCaprio looks off screen, or he kind of looks to his left, right? And you think it's like, okay, he's looking around the restaurant to see if everybody's seeing this because it's a little weird and impromptu. He's looking at Scorsese, thinking it like kind of like, "Okay, are you cutting?" And that was a genuine reaction because when he whipped that out, he had not said anything.
Huh? Did that pop up?
Michael J. started share screen.
Oh, is that what it says?
Yeah.
When the hell did that happen?
It just happened.
Oh, now I know how it did it. All right, let's try this and see what happens.
After 15 years in storage, had developed a delayed fuse. It took 90 minutes for these little fuckers to kick in, but once I did, pow! I mean, I had skipped the tingle phase and went straight to the drool phase. These little bastards were so strong, I discovered a whole new phase, the cerebral palsy phase. Come on, stand up. Okay, walking's out.
Walking's out.
That's I
don't try to drive. Rocco will come and get you. I'm at the country club.
Yeah.
Get off the phone. And then the cops come after him. What the fuck are you doing in my house?
He's like, and that was great too, because he pulls up outside of the house. He gets out of the car. He's like, I made it home alive, and not a scratch on me or the car. And then when the cops come, he's like, okay, maybe I didn't make it home. Okay.
Yep, that shit was hilarious. I'm at the country club.
I can't understand what you're saying. Get him off the phone.
I'm on the phone. Get off the phone. No, the one I love is Steve Madden. Steve. Women's shoes.
Oh God, that was great.
No, one of the best ones that I've used from that movie. And this is such a quotable movie. But one of the best ones I've used is I'm not fucking leaving. When he decides not to leave. Oakmont.
Yep.
Hey, you getting out of the bathroom? I'm not fucking leaving.
That was great.
Yeah, and one of the scenes I love that's fucking ridiculous. So one thing that becomes kind of a big deal in the movie, storytelling wise, is he has a yacht. He basically has basically has like a 160-foot yacht. This thing's fucking massive. And it actually ends up in a storm.
Yo, that was.
And oh my God, that fucking scene.
I'm not dying high.
Yeah, I'm not dying.
high.
Yeah, I am not dying sober. Get the loot.
Oh, that's right. Not dying sober. Get the loot. Yeah.
Yeah, that movie. One thing I found interesting about that movie, and I might be right. So some of the music cues are not accurate to the time period.
Yeah,
but that does. I mean, that honestly doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't.
I bet get off the phone. It is that movie, you know, I remember like wanting to watch it. I ended up watching it on like a home video for the first time.
Mhm.
And it had, as aforementioned, like Pulp Fiction, like it had kind of that weird effect where, holy shit, this is bananas. This is insane. And I hadn't seen, I mean, obviously seeing other Scorsese movies, you know, very much kind of a different case, but seeing that particular movie, because Scorsese's always fucking great. I've never, I mean, has he made some movies I'm not a fan of? Of course. Has he made what I would call bad movies? Not really. But he has always made, he's always kind of gone for it.
Yeah.
And it had been a while since I had seen something of his that wasn't, you know, not so straight-laced. What makes so great for me, what I really love, one of the biggest things, probably one of the bigger ones, is that it is meant to be a comedy. Even with all the fucked up shit, even with these people being deplorable, despicable, they fucking, you know, robbed people to the point of making them broke, and were cavalier with a system that they were in charge of or could manipulate, which they did a lot of. But watching that kind of blow up and what it turned into was fucking insane.
Oh, it was.
I mean, just fucking bananas as far as like the depravity. And a lot of it is funny just for the fact that some of the stuff, like literally at the end of one sales week, they have a bunch of strippers and a marching band come in and serve champagne and shave a woman's head for $10,000. Absolutely fucking bananas. And that's the kind of shit where I'm like, oh, they've got to be like that has to be real. That has to be something where it's like, oh shit, this is so crazy. It has to be true.
Yeah. Yeah. And then how she was going to take the 10,000 and use it for breast implants because she already has C's, but she wants double fucking D's.
Double D's. Is this a great fucking company or what? Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, one of those movies where anything goes, no holds bar. I can imagine, like, yeah, I was stationed here already, but I hadn't seen it in the theater. I can only imagine what some people were like, oh, you know, especially here, when they try to push the, you know, religious high ground shit, and it's all fucking lies. But to expose some people to that movie, that shit's pretty hilarious to me, especially when, like, I'm so glad I got to introduce it to you, and you know, to do that for anybody, especially something that I love, it's like, fuck yeah. And what's crazy is, you know, talking about like the Wick movies getting longer, this is 3 hours and does not feel like 3 fucking hours.
No, it doesn't.
The pacing is so well executed and so on point to where, I mean, let's see, because I don't even think he meets Naomi like in the first hour.
No, I don't think he does. And
Yeah.
it's weird because when I was watching it again today, I was watching it. I'm like, oh shit, we're already here.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I can't believe we're here already. Where did the time go?
Oh yeah. Well, and that movie for me too has a lot of those. That movie too, great comedies that I love have those beats built in
Right.
where you're like, ha 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 ha, and all that good stuff. And it is fantastic to see. It is fantastic to see those comedy notes, introduce it to other people. But like I said, one thing that I really love is just how full throttle it is. Like it's so funny how a 3-hour movie doesn't seem to lag. Like I mean, I remember the first time seeing it, I was never bored.
Nope.
And obviously never bored with it now. Especially like I said, going with the beats, like great comedies and quotable movies that kind of click with us.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first overall? Because you've seen it twice now after not seeing it for so long. Your first instinct, like the second you saw it and they went to credits, like what was like the first eureka moment, or what was the first like, oh shit?
Like that it was.
No, like did you have that? Oh, I loved it, but what the hell did I just watch? Or because there's a lot of that in many of those cases.
Yeah, I mean, like still, like when he's like at the end, like especially at the end, the weirdest where he does that thing again, where he's at the seminar, and he's saying to the guy, and he's like, "Now sell me this pen," and he does that pen thing again. I don't know what it is, but that just that gets me because it's like. Because when they did it earlier in the movie, and who the hell was it that? Oh, Brad, I think, was the one originally that took it and sold it and was like, write this down on the napkin. And he's like,
Yep.
I don't have a pen. See, supply and demand.
Yeah. Well, I kind of love that ending because. That scene with them in the diner eating or whatever, and kind of taking that, it kind of signals an interesting thing about the character, because even with the time he did in jail, and I don't know if it was meant to be a precursor to how he is now, but he never stopped looking for the good old days, like even being in prison and stuff. The group that he had, the people that he had around him, like remember how he said, a lot through the movie, like, I need to have the kind of people around me who have the same ambition as me, who want to make money and want to live like I do. And then, because obviously there's certain things he's not allowed to do in America anymore.
Right.
Or shouldn't. He's in Australia doing this stuff, and it's like he's still searching for that feeling, that buzz of and obviously with those people, like they're not getting it. They don't have the veracity, they don't have that ferocious mindset that he does of what he would want out of a salesperson. Like, you sell it to them, but you make them want to, get it from you. Like that whole, the supply and demand. An interesting side note, I don't know if you knew this. So the MC in the end scene in Auckland, that was the actual Jordan Belford.
I had a feeling that was him.
Yeah.
And I actually read, what was it? That there's like PSAs or something on Jordan's website that DiCaprio does or something like that, or he did. I don't know what the hell it
Oh
was.
God. What if he's going to try to pull those off? And another fun thing, and we talked about a little bit, was, how do I put it? So if you kind of look back on some of this stuff, you will find you will find some hilarious side notes, and not just the ideal of like what happened behind the scenes or in the movie, but more the ideal of, oh shit, that's okay. So this movie was actually produced by, what was he, Crypto? But I think I told you about this, but basically the people who invested in this movie were actually crypto scammers.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's not weird, right? Make a movie about a scammer, and then the people who produced it were scammer themselves. And this was so much a sticking point for Jordan Belfort that he sued them for $200 million because he thought they were a reputable business. And I read that, and obviously that's a paraphrase of like the situation. There's obviously more in depth. But I can't help but to go, so wait a minute. The scammer felt scammed. How do you think all his victims felt? How do you think the people he fucked over like their life savings, who may or may not have gotten it all back?
Right.
Because I would suspect anything like that takes a lot of red tape.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's super frustrating because there's nothing that anybody can do. I mean, I wonder how much he's been sued. Let's find that out. I'm curious. And I love the fact that you're already getting like repeat value out of this movie.
I'm sure I'll be watching it again soon, just because it's, it's one of those that I can keep going. It can, I hate to say it because it probably sounds weird to say it, but it almost sounds like it could be one of those, what I like to call comfort movies that I put on.
It is.
And just, like it can be background noise as I'm doing other things, and it could, you know what I mean? It could just be on. And, like it could just be one of those movies. So I can totally see that.
That has definitely happened. That has definitely happened to me with this movie. We put it on all the time. And just like there's times where we're just running around, walking around, and kid you not, like, Jordan, he's a father.
Jordan, your daughter's in.
You get out of the fucking car. Yeah, that. Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely bananas. So I guess there's actually, some of the shit he did wasn't even in the movie. That was like fucking bananas.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's crazy because when everything was said and done, apparently he pocketed like $150 million. That's so nuts.
Shit. Oh, did you see DiCaprio says that he can't believe Jordan Belfort is still alive.
Oh, I agree. And I don't mean that just the drugs. I mean, think about how many people probably want a piece of this guy.
Yeah. And apparently they did develop a friendship because it took 6 years to get the movie made.
That's nuts.
And so the two of them kind of,
Yeah, that motherfucker just skimming
And-
through some of this shit. It's insane. And yeah, I agree. I agree with DiCaprio on that one.
And he and Belfort says that he feels the movie is under exaggerated.
So does that push the ideal of a director's cut?
He just thinks that maybe that it could have been, that it could have been even more extreme, I guess, than it was. But
That's nuts.
I mean, I still don't get how. I was just looking to see if I could find any DiCaprio
Infomercials.
but I don't. Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah, but now he apparently is a name in crypto as far as trying to push that. And it's like, somebody didn't learn much now, did they?
No, it's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, really, why? Dude, you know how old he is?
He's 62.
Yeah, that's holy shit. I didn't even realize that.
I mean, it is pretty amazing he's made it to 62. I agree with DiCaprio on that one.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that like, holy shit, like he really wow, I can't I can't believe it.
Yeah, fucking bananas. Well, and people like that, it's always kind of crazy to see them as people, because I can imagine, like, kind of put it in this context, like, when that was happening, like, how did they see themselves? There's kind of that. I can't help but to kind of look at that and go, how do they look at themselves?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that's wow.
So his daughter is a mental health counselor. She's a life crisis counselor.
How old is his daughter, I wonder? That's
probably in her 30s.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
He really did mess up with Naomi, though. Like, why would you? I mean, even the first wife seemed like she was decent. Like, why would you want to mess that up? I don't get it.
Well, and I can definitely see it being possible, but the ideal of him, chasing a lifestyle, because she's like, who the fuck are you? Like, I can't even recognize you anymore. Like, what you've turned into. And like, she's absolutely right. The kind of similar to Folie a Deux,
Mm-hmm.
there is that mindset of, like, what happens, like this trajectory of how they change. And at no point is Belford a sympathetic character, nor should he be.
No.
But to just kind of stand back at the audacity of that level of insanity, you cannot help but to be like, oh shit, like, especially if he's saying it's under exaggerated.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's like, what did you, like, how bad were you? Like, what did you do? How bad were you?
Yeah. I honestly feel like he was not. I mean, in some ways, he probably wasn't even like what one would consider conscious.
Mhm.
Like he seemed like, at least in the movie, the way he's portrayed, like,
Yeah.
you know, because obviously part of his defense was like, oh, it's the lifestyle. And it's like, yeah, but dude, you knew 100% what that lifestyle was.
Yeah. No, you did.
And he loved every second of it. Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, like, just the ideal of like, oh well, you know, how did it fit into like his defense? Because, you know, obviously it's like, well, he helped recoup millions of dollars and he helped victims and blah blah blah, and it's like, yeah, but he got caught. Like, obviously part of those deals is like, you know, it's like a pardon, or it's like getting a deal or a certain type of sentence. You know, you have to admit guilt. You have to be able to admit guilt. You have to be able to say, you know, I did this in allowance for that. Well, that's why it's always funny, like with certain types that get pardons. And then it's like, well, I did nothing wrong. And it's like, you know, you can stop the charade. Like, you actually have to admit to wrongdoing to get a plea deal or to get a pardon. So, like I said, once again, at no point, and there's a lot of dramatic moments. Like, it's not all meant to be comedy, but it is kind of like Pain and Gain, where it's like, oh shit, like, I'm laughing at this. Should I be laughing at this?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's always funny, like, what people deem comedy, the ideal of what they laugh or don't laugh at, and then want to pose back on others to laugh or not laugh at. And no, comedy's subjective. Like, I know people who watch this movie and was like, oh my God, that was appalling. And then you have people like me, like, holy fuck, I could not stop laughing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I couldn't fucking breathe through some of that shit, like, the first couple times I see it. And I'm with, like, you know, movies that are quotable, that kind of have rhythms that we connect to or we pick up on. Yeah, you can play it in the background, and, you know, you can be walking around and messing with your cat or whatever and just hanging back and, Brad, get off the food.
Yep. And that just comes on and you're just like, yep, right back in it.
I'm glad they've never tried like a sequel.
Yeah, I'm glad too, because it just, I don't think it would be the same.
Oh, of course not. To be funny, to make a funny point. So, true or false, if you know the answer, has Scorsese ever made a sequel?
Color of Money was a sequel to The Hustler.
Boom! There it is. Woo! 10 points, Gryffindor.
I mean, yeah, that's, you know, which surprises me that he, you know, did that, but it's.
I wonder if it was just a chance to work with Paul Newman.
Yeah, that probably could have been.
Well, you know who else is in that movie too, right?
Cruz is in that too.
Hell yeah, and that head of hair on him.
Oh. Well, yeah, that was '86 Tom Cruise, or yeah,
And then
86.
Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been, you know. I mean, that was. But I mean, you know, technically, it was a sequel, but it wasn't a sequel to one of his own films. So
That's a fair point. Yes.
So technically, it.
I don't know what that would look like too. You think of the way he does storytelling. Like I can't imagine Better Fellows.
Yeah. No, he doesn't really make room for sequels.
Well, I just don't think he sees filmmaking that way. Obviously, one of the things with Scorsese as of recent is, you know, how he feels about Marvel movies. And he's not entirely wrong, but it's also like, dude, different types of folks are going to make different movies. I would never expect like an Avengers movie from like Martin Scorsese. Like, no, he doesn't. That's not what he does. You know, and he makes very few movies that are kind of like background, kind of warm blanket movies. This, of course, is one of them, but he doesn't do a lot of those because a lot of them are very, you know, heavy with a lot of themes, quite violent. Like, you know, he just doesn't make cute and cuddly movies. But I always find it cute that Scorsese tends to kind of go after certain types of filmmaking as being artificial. But he was a voice in Shark Tale, and he did an energy drink commercial with Jonah Hill for the Super Bowl. So, you know what I mean? I'm one of those types. Like I get where he's coming from. I get where he's coming from, but I also have the mindset of like, dude, you know, you weren't going to be an independent filmmaker for the rest of your life. You couldn't have been like an independent kind of filmmaker and turn around and make Gangs of New York for $100 million. Oh yeah, that movie. So a little side note, Harvey Weinstein actually flew down to Italy. Like he was so over budget on that movie and so behind schedule. Oh yeah. That was not, I think that was one of those movies that really questioned where he was at with filmmaking because it was, and you know, Scorsese doesn't always, I think probably to his credit or probably what's best for him, you know, Scorsese doesn't really play around in the ballpark of these, you know, expensive movies. Like I think I'm pretty sure up until like Killers of the Flower Moon and like Wolf of Wall Street, he hadn't really made a movie that was at like an $80 to $100 million mark until Gangs of New York.
Right. Oh yeah. I'm here, my friggin' getting off my knees.
Whoa!
Dude, that could have been like that makes me think of the fucking Wolf of Wall Street when the guy's in the elevator and he's getting the Hummer and he's like, you know, and then he married the chick, but she blew all the guys in the office and then he killed himself 3 years later.
No, I love that part because then he's like, well, anyway.
Yeah. It's just, you know, so like matter of fact and just whoops. Wait, don't want to drop this thing. Where am I?
Yeah, I
Did you see Killers of the Flower Moon?
I have not, and I actually just re-upped my Apple Plus subscription.
Oh yeah, it's on there, I think, isn't it? Yeah, it's gotta be.
I heard it's very good. I heard
it is good. It's long, but it's another one of those where it is long, but it doesn't seem. You know what I mean? Like its pacing is fairly well.
I
So
heard
it
that the
does.
pacing is fairly well and it tackles a lot, but I heard
Mhm.
that it reaches a point where then it goes, how do I put it? It seems to kind of meander at some point. Like towards the end, apparently it starts to kind of shift.
Yeah, I'll be honest. You could like it's 3 hours and 27 minutes. You could have probably cut like 15 or 20 minutes
It's a John Wick movie.
and been okay. Yeah, yeah. But all in all, it's good. DiCaprio is good in it. So and so is that what is her name? Lily Gladstone. Who
I heard
plays?
she's amazing in it.
Yeah, she really is.
I
She really is.
how do I put it? That's one of those things, you know, he said recently, Scorsese, because he was actually supposed to make, I guess he halted the brakes on it pretty recently, but he was supposed to make a Frank Sinatra biopic that he's been working on for a minute, and DiCaprio was supposed to play Old Blue Eyes. And apparently he's pumped the brakes on it, and part of that has to do with because Killers of the Flower Moon didn't do very well. It actually wasn't in theaters that long, and then they put it on Apple, and it just ended up having kind of a weird release, especially for a movie that cost $200 million. But one thing he said recently was like talking about his age, knowing that he's like, he's like, I'm 80. Like, I know that I want to keep going, but I also know that I'm not who I used to be. I'm not at the age I used to be. And I have to kind of confront that whether I want to or not. And in doing so, there are certain things that just won't happen for him. So I don't know if he's conceding that he's not going to do the Sinatra pick, but I do know that he realizes he's kind of reached a certain point in his career where it's like, well, I'm not doing this or not doing that. And
he's working on a Jesus movie, I think now.
I heard he's working on another one. Will that be his sequel?
I mean,
Spoiler alert, he rises.
There we go.
Spoiler alert, he died for our sins, but then was resurrected and didn't die. Talk about the ultimate bullshit play.
There you go.
Hey, I died for your sins. Psych. Have you ever seen, speaking of that movie, have you ever seen Last Temptation of Christ?
I have not.
It is, I get why it pissed people off. I understand that. But I have to say, like, definitely in its time, you can see why it was a bold move as a movie. And that it being made was like, yeah, you're not going to make any friends on this one there, Marty. That ain't happening.
Now I want to watch it because
it's very good. I mean, it's very well done. It tells a story that I think is kind of important. And anytime you run out where you're like, hey, we're examining this or we're taking that, and for a lot of people, obviously, it's taboo. It's like, hey, questions and don't do this and don't do that. And it's like, oh, that's not really how this is supposed to go, guys. Like, it's, and especially growing up Catholic, like I'm watching that movie and I'm still in high school. And my parents were not having. They're like, the fuck is? I'm like, Sunday school homework. I don't know. Play that shit off like I don't know. I knew.
Yeah,
I knew. Damn it.
I like it.
It's a good one. It's very good. I think it is. I think it is very much a how do I put it? I think it's very much it's an examination of kind of subject matter and such that obviously people just don't want to look at. And movies like that, it's not meant to be insulting. Not at all,
Right.
in my opinion. I think it's very much designed, or at least should be seen that way. I think it's very much designed for people to kind of look at it and go, oh, okay, that's what he's looking at. This is, things like that. And obviously people don't see it that way because in a lot of cases, oh, it's blasphemy. And it's like, it's a movie based on a fable. Like, calm your shit, folks.
Right.
Well, and it's and it has that for a lot of people. Obviously, it's that over possessiveness. Like, oh well, this is what it is because it's in the book. Really? Were you there? Because I'm pretty sure that's not the fucking case.
Right.
So
there you go. Yeah.
I highly recommend that. Another one I recommend is so he did a movie. It's basically kind of a documentary of sorts about the Rolling Stones called Shine a Light.
I've heard of it.
Very good.
Yeah, but I have heard of it. Yep.
Very, very good. And he uses the Stones, those needle drops he uses in so many of his movies.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Because now I'm going through his discography. Here's what's funny. So he made Hugo, which is kind of like a kid's movie.
I've heard of it, yes.
It's very good. It's very sweet, and it's kind of his take on a kid's movie about like things that inspired him as a kid with film. I love it. I think it's a very sweet, good-natured movie. I find it interesting that it's his kind of take on a kid's movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got Christopher Lee in it. It was one of the last movies he made. And it was actually his dream to work with Scorsese.
Oh, well then that's, yeah.
And then after Hugo was The Wolf of Wall Street.
Jeez, you go from a kid's movie to that. Holy shit.
Exactly. That's literally what I just thought about, where I was like, wait, did you? One thing that I love from him, and I mean, if you hadn't seen it, I wouldn't be surprised. It had 5 seasons, and unfortunately, it seemed like nobody saw it. Sadly, a TV show called Boardwalk Empire.
I started watching it, and I don't know if I watched all of the first season or not, but he was involved. I didn't realize he was involved in that. Was he really? Wow.
Yeah, so the very first episode, the pilot, he directed.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize.
And since it plays so much like a feature, and it was the pilot where they were setting this up, like I'm amazed it had 5 seasons because like people loved it, but it was kind of similar to like The Wire. It's like, oh yeah, people love it. Are people watching it? But the pilot was like $125 million.
Holy shit.
Because and it was Scorsese. Like, it wasn't a surprise that it was expensive. I'm surprised it was that expensive. And the show itself was not cheap. Yeah. Great cast.
Yeah,
Steve Buscemi's in it, and he's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I could have sworn I'll have to go back and revisit that because I started watching it. I don't know if I watched all of the first season or if I stopped through. I don't remember what the hell took me away from it, and I just never went back to it.
Great, great, great show. Like, I loved it more than I expected. After watching the first episode, I was hooked.
Mm-hmm.
So in The Wolf of Wall Street,
Right.
the scene where Mad Max is, I waited all week for the fucking equalizer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you look at the episode, what you could see of it,
Mm-hmm.
the thug that's getting pulled by his hair is Steve Buscemi.
Oh shit. Really?
Yep. Who he who?
Hmm.
You're gonna miss it. I fucking know.
Mhm.
$430 fucking $1,000.
That was, seeing Rob Reiner there, that was something. Like I didn't expect to see him in that movie, and then he popped up, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
And he was fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I wait all week for the fucking equalizer. No, Dad, we had the expensive champagne. What kind of hooker takes credit card? A rich one.
Yeah, that was great. Where it's like, your father's
Yeah.
coming in. He has something
Yeah.
to talk about the American Express bill. Can you get him out of here, please?
Yeah, lick my twat. Yeah, that was her response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. $26,000 for one fucking dinner. We had the expensive champagne.
Oh, that was great. I love it.
Probably gonna watch it again after this, huh?
I might. I just might.
That movie for me is one of those great pleasant surprise movies. I enjoy it. And not that I thought, once again, I didn't think it was going to be horrible. It's just that watching the trailers, I wasn't sure what angle Scorsese was going to go.
Right.
Because, up until that point, he had played a lot with drama. Like I said, he had just come off of Hugo. So you're kind of wondering, like, where, just from a subject matter standpoint, like, where this is going to go. Like, how's this going to play? And holy shit, fucker turned it into a dramedy. It's a comedy, it's got drama, and it almost plays like a satire.
Yeah.
But now it's even crazier if Jordan Belfort actually is like, oh no, that's underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Yeah. And I agree with DiCaprio. How the fuck is he still alive?
Yeah.
And if he has like fucking health issues, I would suspect,
He's gonna have some. I mean, with all the fucking drugs that he did.
probably got bad fucking sinuses. He might have a straw crammed up there.
Yeah. That's for sure. Wow.
Well, I am glad you finally saw it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I am glad that I did as well, and I thank you very much for bringing it into my life.
So now we got to return the favor, and maybe any genre, of course. But I'm trying to think what you've seen that I should have seen by now, and I have not.
I don't know. I don't.
I've probably mentioned a couple times. I'm trying to think. What have I not seen? Well, I haven't seen Flower Moon, but we're in October. We got some horror movies, folks.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because I'm sure you've seen a lot of like horror theme stuff. Let me see. I don't know. I don't know. There's like so much different stuff. Let me see here. I wonder. I can't think of it. Let me think. I'm trying to think in the terms of
Well, because I've watched a shit ton of movies.
yes. I guarantee you there's more movies that you've seen that I haven't that, than I've seen that you haven't. I'm sure that there's plenty more that you've seen. And then in terms of availability too, let me.
So this is a bit of a cliffhanger. We'll have to go. We'll have to go that route. Oh, I got a good one, but maybe you've seen it.
What do you got?
So obviously, with it being October, and there is a particular horror movie.
Yes.
That my dearest has seen. And because at the time we were a little elevated, that movie has fucked her up. Like, she was scared, but yeah, you put a little in there. Oh boy. And she would claim that she is scarred by that movie. Have you ever seen Sinister?
Sinister. I have.
Okay.
But it is a movie. It is definitely a movie.
Did you not care for it?
I do no, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. There was a little backstory there. I was making I was in the process of working on a film at the time, and the mask or whatever that the character or the face or whatever was almost identical to the mask that
shit
in the thing that I was making. And I have proof of it because footage from it, like rough footage, is on Rumble. It was on the YouTube account, but that got shut down, so it's on Rumble. And you
shit!
See that the mask is kind of close. And my thing was shot in 2011. We were shooting that, and Sinister, I believe, came out in
12.
12.
Yep.
Yeah. So when that came out, and that I was like, whoa. So I kind of like did a double take, kind of, in a sense. But yeah, I like that movie. And that would be something good because I haven't seen that in a while. So I would be open to revisiting that.
Let's do that for the next episode.
Okay.
Look at that. Now, problem solved. Problem ain't solved.
Yeah. Now, do you want to just cover the first one, or do you want to do both of them?
Let's just go with the first one. If we happen to sneak in and watch the second one, sure. But at the end of the day, because it took me 2 tries to get through the second one.
Right.
Yeah, I'll try to shoot for watching the second one again. But let's stick to the really great one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, 2. Honestly, yeah, I had a couple of false starts with it, and then finally watched it, and I'm actually trying to remember it.
Yeah, I don't remember either of them because it's been a while. So
yeah, where Sinister was like, oh fuck, I gotta call my mom. Holy shit.
Yeah, that was So did you want to do that? When did you want to do that again? Do you want to do Thursday, or do you want to do Saturday, or what would you like to do? It's up to you.
Let's do Saturday again.
Like that extra. You want to do Saturday again? Okay.
Yeah. That's working because, like, my solo podcasts, Single Serving Geek, I haven't got to yet because just with work and everything, and this week's been like super chaotic. So,
Okay.
but Saturdays work great.
Okay. We'll do that. If something comes up or whatever and we need to reschedule, just let me know, and you know what I mean, we can do that because life happens.
Oh, does it ever?
Uh,
Probably more than I would have expected.
Unfortunately, I know, and it's horrible that stuff, that it goes like that. But
Never a dull moment.
I'm thinking also about checking out, against my better judgment, The Strangers Chapter 1 this week.
Good luck.
I don't want to, but something is drawing me because they just released a trailer for Chapter 2.
And that's probably going to be as shitty as Chapter 1.
I don't know. It's weird.
I mean, you won't know until you know. So,
but Chapter 1 is bad from what I've heard.
Oh, it's not even at fine. It's just shit.
Okay, maybe I won't watch it. I was thinking, I'm like after Wolf of Wall Street ended, I was like, do I want to sneak in Alien Romulus or Strangers Chapter 1? And I'm like, Strangers is shorter. I'm like, but I think I'd enjoy Alien more so. So I went with Alien, and I pushed
That was a good call.
Strangers off. Yeah, now I'm afraid to even go back to.
If you were that big of a fan of like the first two Strangers, sure. But nothing beats the first one. Second one is fine.
I never saw Prey at Night. I've never seen Prey at Night. I've only seen the first one, and I like the first one.
I love the first one. I think the first one's really, really good. But that one for me is a little bit in the case of like, how do you get a franchise out of this?
Yeah, it doesn't seem very.
It's,
you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem.
Yeah. Once again, it's a case of like, okay, well, you can put other people in the masks, but it's like, once again, like Exorcist, like it's not definitive. Same almost goes for Ghostface, and I love the ideal of Ghostface. But it's also a case of like, well, it's just that person.
Right.
Whoever that is at that movie. It's not the same character. And yes, right. You're kind of making the case of, well, anybody can go nuts and kill anybody, but it's always around the same people too. You know what I mean? They're all it's all always supposed to be so interconnected, and it's like, well, yeah, but you still have to change killers.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. You definitely do. Definitely do.
So Sinister, huh?
Sinister, that will be
woo-hoo. I am excited.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. Oh, well, this was a good one, and we finally got to it.
Yeah. This will be good, and I'm going to try to pick up some other stuff this week to check out, and we'll go from there, I guess, at this point. But
heck yeah.
I set an outro video to play, so I'm assuming when I hit end stream, the outro video should play, and then the stream should end. I'm gonna hit that now.
We are still working the kinks, but everybody who tuned in will tune in. Thank you. I'm a little off tonight. I'm a little goofy. 1, my throat hurts. 2, my meds. I'm a little but I think I pulled it out with the impressions.
You did 100%. You did.
Hey everyone, have a good night. Okay.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Hey, make sure you check us out next time. Okay? I don't know why I'm breathing so hard. I'm sitting down. All right, you have a good night.
Maybe he's doing lewds.
Oh my God, yes. Actually, what if it went the other direction and like they didn't affect him like that and he was just like, hey, everybody, have a good night. Like he didn't get like, yeah, it worked as a sedative. It didn't kick him in the ass.
Oh, that would be something. Dude. Oh, man. Oh, that would be something to see. But until next week, then.
Say good night, Dick. Good night, Dick.
I'm cutting it there because that's just a great way to end it. Okay. I did. Hold on. I did. I entered an outro. What the fuck? I hit end stream and it says add outro.